What do you think of this boner I got?
All right. We are live. Welcome to the Movie Bonerz Awards. Long time coming.
Yes.
Feels good.
It feels good.
Our wardrobe is, of course, inspired by the legendary, the greatest to ever do
The
it,
GOAT.
Adam Sandler. I can't believe I didn't think of it. You sent me a text and you're like, hey, because of what he did, do you really want to dress up or do you want to wear hoodies? And I was always I will choose hoodies over ties and things like that.
Yeah. So tapping into our inner Adam Sandler. Thank
Feels
you,
good.
sir. Yes,
Yeah.
it does.
Chalamet. All right, so we've been working on this for so long, and it's been so exciting. We have a lot to get into, so might as well just get into it.
Yeah. I don't think either of us have any drawn out opening songs or
shit. You mean you didn't prepare a medley?
I did not prepare a medley.
All of the Wicked and Joker 2 and Amelia Perez songs mixed together.
If
I was going to throw to you.
Sorry, man. I let you down.
That's okay. There is some music later in the show. There's actually a lot going on later in the show. So, kind of like last year, I say that this show is much bigger and better than last year. No, I mean, that always happens with the first award show. We didn't really know what we were doing, but we did have a lot of fun.
And we still don't really know what we're doing.
We might know less, but we are still having a lot of fun. And one of the main, I think, staples of the show that we love so much is having so many great guest presenters on. So we have several of those. We'll get to that in a second. We also are still celebrating the same basic important premises, which are all of the more, I don't know, household name award shows don't really get it right. They don't really know what they're doing. They make so many mistakes. It's kind of ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're here to set the record straight, correct a lot of snubs. There were a lot of snubs that we don't need to have go down in history. And then also focus on what we like and what I think everybody likes the most about movies. Stunts, good effects, practical effects, good CGI effects that are not, weird and ugly.
Right. Enjoyable movies.
Yeah. Normal movies primarily. Movies that people like, which the big award shows don't tend to praise. Like, I understand, there's no shade if you like Anora or any of the other best movies that were nominated. But I think that generally speaking, across history, you don't go back and rewatch the highest praised movies. You go back and rewatch movies that you like or that connected with you or whatever. And I do like some Best Picture movies, but most of the movies I rewatch did not get any awards whatsoever.
Yeah.
Maybe even got Razzie Awards, actually. So
I totally believe that you enjoyed some Razzie Awards. I totally believe it.
Yeah. And this is also for all of 2024. That's another thing most award shows don't do. They have very recency bias like crazy. And so this is from January 1st to December 31st, like it should be, all the best movies from beginning to end. Actually, one or two were from January and February of last year that a lot of people forgot about.
Yeah, which is a shame because they were fun. They were,
and I think a lot of people. I've seen a lot of people complain about 2024 as though it wasn't a good year for movies. I disagree. I think that there were a lot of really good movies, and I think there's a lot of things worth celebrating and enjoying about the movies this year. But it is also hard not to compare it to last year. Like, I see people who live in the UK and they had the Iron Claw release this year, so they get to include it in their best of 2024.
Yeah.
And I was like, if we had the Iron Claw this year, I would probably win overall because that's a great movie.
Yeah. I guess I fall into a little bit of the camp of thinking 2024 was a little lackluster in films in the overall scope, but doing this and being able to revisit a lot of this stuff, I didn't hate the year, it turns out. I kind of had like this weird, did I hate 2024? I had a lot of fun with it, but the stinkers really stuck out, so...
The stinkers really stunk?
Yeah, they were really terrible.
Yeah.
Luckily, though, we get to rub that in the Oscars face and enjoy and tell you about some movies that you need to remember. So that's what we're here for.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, like I mentioned before, one of the best parts about the awards is having so many great guest presenters, so they deserve a hand for helping us out this year.
Woo!
They were absolutely fantastic. There we go.
There it is. I do like that you put us as special guests.
Well, yeah. We are a presenter. Hold on. What's happening? We lost control of the show.
We'll do it live. All right.
That's literally where we're at. We are actually presenting an award. That's why we're on that list. Yeah. And also because having 19 pictures on a slide is just nonsense. Who does that? So in order for alignment, for people to actually not lose their minds trying to look at things aligned correctly, I had to have us up there to have all 20 presenters listed. We don't need any thanks, don't thank us, but everybody else deserves some thanks for helping out. Some of them are returning old friends that you will recognize immediately.
Yep.
And some of them are, I need to take this hood off. It's way too warm.
Yeah, no joke. Adam, I don't know how you do it, dude.
Did it for a bit, and I'm pretty sure he moved on with his life.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had several old friends return and some are presenters from last year as well. Others have been guests on the show, and then actually about half of the presenters are new folks that you've not heard before. That some of them I haven't even talked to that much, and I just reached out to on a whim and was very excited that they took our call. So you will be very excited to see everything they put together. Some of it is very kind of formal and pleasant and nice, and some of it is completely unhinged and deranged, and I love all of it. It's all perfect and all great, and so you have a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, I am excited. We stuck with something that we did last year where I get to go in blind and see the comedy for the first time.
Yes.
With you guys. So I am so excited to see this. The bar has been set because the videos from last year, guys, they were pretty killer.
Man. As someone who has watched them all to make sure that they work correctly, it might be better than last year. I think it's probably better than last year. But you'll be the judge. You'll be the judge. And then also, I guess, keeping with the theme of new things, new presenters, we also have new categories this year. A lot of the staples return, a lot of the silly ones from last year that were good and also still applied thematically to this year we have still. But we added 7 new categories that have largely to do with the themes of the year and specific movies that released or trends or things like that. So a lot to enjoy and a lot to get into. And then also, you should have voted in the award show. If you didn't, sorry, you missed out. But your vote has been counted. It did play into who wins. It also played into who is nominated. So we took nominations from the zeitgeist of people that care about movies and like movies, and we appreciate that. And then we watched them, made sure we had seen them, made sure we were, could judge them fairly as best we could, and then made decisions about kind of who should win or why they should win and things like that. Everybody did vote. We got a lot more votes than last year, so thank you everybody for voting. I don't want this to come off as fuck you, but also let's keep in mind...
It's not a democracy, it's a cheerocracy.
Let's keep in mind, just going with the popular vote is not a really good idea, generally speaking, because if we learned anything from watching the Oscars nonsense this year, it's that a lot of people get a vote that maybe shouldn't have one because they make a lot of dumb decisions. They say things that are off. I don't know why you would write some of the things that they wrote in their anonymous ballots that say Dune 2 is too long. I didn't watch any of it. Or I don't really care for the style of movies, so I'm not even going to give it a chance. Or Ralph Fiennes already won an Oscar for that one movie that what's-his-face did in the Holocaust.
For that one movie? What's his face?
You know, that one movie that nobody
right.
ever saw. The most famous movie ever. Schindler's List. When he didn't actually win an award for Schindler's List.
Not.
So a lot of nonsense, but I think we can correct that now. And so, yes, I'll keep track. And in full transparency, I'm putting on the screen kind of which movie won the overall vote. But there are some instances where we chose to go another direction. And I'm going to need you all to be gentle with us that when we did not give the movie you wanted to win an award.
It's true.
I know we've gotten some comments already of this movie better win. It might not, so we'll have to see. And if you have a complaint, we opened a telephone number this last year. And so you could leave us a rambling voicemail about why we're wrong. You could text us a string of your thoughts in the middle of the night. You could let us know what we should do for next year's awards. If you see a movie that you think deserves consideration or have an idea for a fun category, feel free to reach out. Or for Boners with a Z, and we will gladly listen to your voicemail and probably put it on Instagram.
It's true. It's true.
All right. So I think we should probably get into this because I should really be watching the wedding episode of Love is Blind.
You should not be watching the wedding episode.
And
of
I'm
Love
taking
is Blind.
time away from that to do this right now.
Good.
So I think the format of the show will be, as we go through each category, we'll see a special guest presenter who we love so much, list the category, list the nominees within it, and then we'll review kind of what we liked, what we didn't like, what the problems were, and why we chose the way we did, and then we'll announce the winner of each.
Let's do this.
We've got a lot to go through. No speeches, no nonsense, just if you win, move on.
Because we're going to force you to. Yeah.
All right. So, first up, we have the new category, new year, the most promising directorial debut. And there were a lot of great movies released this year with new first-time directors, a lot of big movies, which is interesting. And so we decided to try to figure out which one we thought had the most promise in the long term, which director we're excited to see, auteur we're excited to see going forward. And to present that, we have the great and illustrious Andrew from the Revisionist Almanac, probably the most capable or storied or, tenured award season podcaster, because his podcast is all about revisiting the Oscars and fixing mistakes they've made. So definitely on brand for this. And he's going to go tell us a little bit more about the nominees this year.
Hey, everybody. It's Andrew from the Revisionist Almanac, a podcast specifically designed to look back on past Academy Award ceremonies and determine what the voters got right and, more importantly, what they got wrong. You can find and follow the show on all social media platforms at the handle Rev Almanac, and you can also find me anywhere you stream your podcasts. I want to give a big shout out to Dustin and Jake over at Movie Bonerz for having me on as a presenter this year. I think award season has been pretty crazy, but we have truly saved the best for last with this one. I'll be here to present the award for Most Promising Directorial Debut. That's right. The Boners are here to recognize those fine men and women who popped their directorial cherry in 2024. Your nominees are Jake Johnson for Self-Reliance, Ashana Knight Shyamalan for The Watchers, Zoe Kravitz for Blink Twice, Dev Patel for Monkey Man, Anna Kendrick for Woman of the Hour, Arkasha Stevenson for The First Omen, Kelly Marcel for Venom, The Last Dance, and finally Zelda Williams for Lisa Frankenstein. Truly all deserving nominees with a bunch of great women having their directorial debuts in this category. If I were to have my vote, which I definitely did, I would give it to Arkasha Stevenson for The First Omen, a film I really, really enjoyed. But the question we all want answered is, whose name is indeed in this envelope that will be awarded this win? Let's go back to the guys to find out.
Do you like that prop envelope action? That was pretty cool.
I did. That was pretty good. Good job, bud.
Yeah, it's always something that crosses my mind when I'm asking these people to help us out. Some of them are strangers I haven't DM'd with much at the time of asking. Andrew's not. We've talked a lot over the last year, and he has a great podcast that is fairly new, but is very much out, growing rapidly. He's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But I do ask these people to come on the show and then say not only boners, several times, the word boners, but they tend to go above and beyond and add things like popping cherries and who knows what else.
Yeah, if anything from last year, we learned people really like all the innuendos that we kind of help lay the groundwork. So thank you, bud.
Yeah, we're here for it for sure. Okay, so the nominees, what do you want to get out there? What do you want to, who do you want to at least highlight, even if they didn't win? Not to, spoil anything, but start talking about these guys. And I think that's the great thing of this show is that we don't just say, oh, this person wins, you got to deal with it and just accept it.
Right.
No, we want to say this person won because of this and this and this. And if you don't agree, maybe you just don't agree with those reasons. That's totally fine.
I didn't get a chance to, I'll be full transparency. I did not get to see all of these movies, but the ones that I did watch were pretty incredible. I think the ones that I'm really, really excited to see more projects from are going to be Anna Kendrick and Arkasha Stevenson.
Yeah.
I think they knocked it out of the park with what they made, and that was really exciting to see.
Yeah, I think both Woman of the Hour was great. A lot of great visuals and storytelling. Really excited to see what she does next. Same with First Omen. First Omen was great, and it won't be the last time we talk about that movie on the show. I'm also, even though I've dissed or said I didn't fully like the movie, I did see a lot of promise in Ishana Night Shyamalan's The Watchers.
Right.
Especially the first half. I really, really liked it. It just kind of fell off for me, and I lost interest entirely by the end. But I think that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think that there's a lot of promise there, and that's kind of what this award's about.
Yeah.
Zoe Kravitz Blink Twice was intense. I know we talked about that pretty recently. And
yeah,
I think,
the way she handled the subject matter in that movie, I thought was really well done.
Yeah.
Tough subject matter, but I think she did a really effective job with it.
Right. And I think some people might look down upon a director starting with Venom 3, but I'm always reminded of how the great and illustrious David Fincher started with Alien 3, and everybody loves Fincher, even if Alien 3 never became that cult classic. I'm sure some people love it, but it just hasn't risen to, oh yeah, it was actually amazing kind of status. So even if you start out making a franchise movie or just a simpler project that's not like your vision, your auteurship, it's in a franchise, it's all this stuff that you can't control yourself, that's still a great way to kind of get going, I think.
Yeah.
And I really like Self-Reliance. I like Jake Johnson as an actor, obviously, but his movie I thought was very interesting, not as strong overall, compared to particularly the other ones we talked about, Woman of the Hour and Blink Twice and all those, but still very interesting. And I kind of like that he's directing now.
Yeah. There's a lot of good movies, man. And Dev Patel, his first outing was unexpected and a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Monkey Man was pretty darn good. So the winner, it's hard to transition when you haven't really planned out or scripted anything that we're doing.
Because that's not how we roll, man.
Not spoil things, but also not bury the lead entirely. Monkey Man was pretty good. It was really good. It was so good, in fact, that
it was kind of our favorite. So
yeah. So Monkey Man was phenomenal. Monkey Man was, I have one of those.
There it is.
Yeah.
Don't worry. The cues will be met at some point in the show.
We'll catch up. I don't know what we're talking about. So, there we go. I think for someone like Dev Patel, who admitted that he bit off more than he could chew with creating this movie, but I think so much of the stories of his struggles led to our excitement of finally seeing it, that it did finally get distribution, it did finally get made, even if it ran out of money for a long time and all this stuff. and hearing his struggles as a director, hearing him having to change locations because of the pandemic and not being able to fly in actors because the borders were closed and losing funding and injuring himself constantly. So he broke, I think I took this note, he broke so much of his body trying to film these scenes as the star. And he broke his hand, his toes, he tore his shoulder, he got an eye infection, he had a swollen foot and had to cut his shoe open so he could keep filming. And so I just picture this man with a vision for this movie who's worried about it ever getting finished because they're running out of money, and they lost a location that had prepped for months with sets and everything because they just couldn't film there anymore. And now he has his shoe cut open, and he's trying to glue a chair together that they had broken so that they could reuse it in another scene. And just the dedication, I feel like, for him is going to take him so far. And I think that he proved so much that he's fully committed to this.
I'm really
craft.
excited to see what else he ends up doing. I think, this being his debut, if he has that kind of passion going into future projects, I think he's going to be quite the director.
Yeah.
In the future. So,
yeah.
Congrats, Dev Patel.
And if you notice in the bottom left corner there, you see a little pie chart. This is where I said I'm trying to be fully transparent and tell you what movie won, what movie didn't win.
Mm-hmm.
This movie did win the fan vote, although First Omen was a close second.
Yeah.
They're the other Green Slice. Both great movies, both definitely deserving, I would say.
Woo.
Okay, next category. You were going to love this, by the way. So, like last year, when I asked everybody to participate, I just gave them a list of our categories that we had come up with and said, pick them in the order that you want them, or, the order that I invite you. Because some people I did invite late, and you'll hear them complain about it. But they're friends of the show, and so it's all good-natured. But I was very excited when James from Iowa Teenage Film Snubs took Best Stunts.
Yes!
And I got more and more excited the more that he teased kind of what he was thinking and where he was going with it. So he needs no introduction. Just watch and enjoy this.
So excited. I'm not even going to drink.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, I believe someone has something they'd like to say to you all. Hey!
Yes!
Batman returns! Huh? Wait. What? I'm doing it. I said I'm doing it, Alfred.
It's like Napoleon Dynamite. Shh.
Alfred says I have to apologize for my behavior last year. Apparently I ruined the award show because I wasn't in the movies. And if I don't say sorry, I'm not allowed in the Batcave for like 3 weeks. Who's gonna stop the Joker, Alfred? Huh? So I'm sorry for ruining the award show. The movie Bonerz. Like, oh no, I ruined the boner. Anyway, I am presenting tonight not Best Hero, which I think in retrospect is wise. So instead I'm doing Best Stunts. I think stunts are stupid. Personally, I don't have a stunt man. Batman doesn't have a stunt man. It's dumb. But anyway,
I love James.
before we read out the nominees,
He's so awesome.
we're gonna roll a tape of someone who's trained by me, by Batman, so you can see why we don't need stunts. Roll the tape.
We're 2 categories in. Are you already going to kill Dustin?
I love this so much. James, you are amazing.
A beast. Like, it treats it silly, but with the music, it's making me emotional.
Way to time the punch with the music. That was well done. Yeah, that's about the style of cartwheel I would do.
It's powerful.
Bruce? Oh, what the hell was that? You adopt a kid, you give him a camera, and you say, hey, show him how good we are without stunts, and he didn't ask for any help. That was all him. Alfred, I want to leave again. I have to go. It's not you this time. I'm just ashamed. Well, time to go buy another orphan.
Go another.
I'm filling in for Batman again. Shocker. What an unreliable dude that guy turned out to be. Hey everyone, it's James from I Was a Teenage Film Snob, and I am presenting the award for Best Stunts, I guess, after that guy disappeared. Huge thank you to Jake and Dustin for inviting me back again. And I know what you're all thinking. Really? Batman a second time? Is he going to get invited back next year? And if he does, will he do Batman a third time? Is his Batman truly forever? All I can tell you is somehow, shockingly, I've played Batman more than Robert Pattinson and more than Val Kilmer and more than George Clooney. If I do Batman next year, I'm coming for Christian Bale and Michael Keaton. It's bizarre that this guy has played Batman more than most of the people known for playing Batman. But anyway, I digress. It's time to talk about Best Stunts. It was a huge year for Stunts, 2024. So many great films. I'm looking at this list. I don't know who's going to win. I think they're all winners. So without further ado, the nominees for Best Stunts in a film for 2024 are Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. Killer flick, really underappreciated, and the stunts are incredible. Fall Guy, literally a flick about stunts and stunt people. So much fun and really exhibits the beauty of the stunt work that all those wonderful people do. Bad Boys, Ride or Die. I haven't seen this flick, but I can imagine it's pretty action-packed and there's some pretty great stunts in there. The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, which I think is a real hidden gem of last year. I didn't hear people talk about it too much. I only heard about it because of Movie Bonerz. And boy, what a ride that was.
That's
so
right.
many wonderful stunts and action in there. Monkey Man, what an incredible debut from Dev Patel. Visually stunning, and the stunt work is incredible. What a wonderful, wonderful film. Twilight of the Warriors, Walled In. I haven't seen this one. I know nothing about it, but if it's on the list, it must be worthwhile talking about. So I'll have to check that one out soon. Life After Fighting, also haven't seen, but keen to check that one out. And of course, Kill. Thank you, Dustin and Jake. Back to you in the studio, and I'll be Batman again next year, maybe.
I hope so, indeed.
James, you are a goat. So good.
James texted me and said you need to turn up your mic a little bit, so put it closer to your face.
I did.
Thank you, James, for helping make the show
Thanks,
a better
James.
place. He is watching from Australia, and we love you and appreciate you.
Yeah.
Although I can't believe James hasn't seen Life After Fighting. You may not have seen it either, but I saw it, and
Don't feel bad, James. I didn't watch it either.
But James should be you shouldn't feel bad. But it is from Australia. It's an Australian movie, and it's awesome. It's like imagine if John Wick was dropped into The Sound of Freedom and he had to rescue and protect children from being trafficked. That's Life After Fighting, and it's about this guy who's like he's like an ex-MMA champion, and it's awesome. There's not like a lot of explosions or car chases or too much gun work, but the hand-to-hand martial arts was phenomenal, especially for a smaller little Australian movie. It's a great movie.
Yeah, I'm going to have to watch that then.
And then I've seen a lot of people praise Twilight of the Warriors Walled In. That's mostly why it got kind of added as a potential. And if you were like Kung Fu movies, Hong Kong style Kung Fu movies especially, it's phenomenal and very kind of the action is fantastic. It's about a real city from Hong Kong, like in the 80s, I think, that was a bunch of people were crammed in. I think tens of thousands of people were crammed into a small, like 6-acre area. So this city was like walled in and built on top of itself and essentially lawless. And so it's kind of like The Raid in a way, but it's also like over the top Hong Kong style martial arts. A little fun, very silly, but awesome overall. And then Kill is another one that I think may have gotten lost in the chaos of, not chaos, but it's an Indian action movie that came out around the time Monkey Man came out, and Monkey Man got a lot more praise with that one guy that made Nope on it. And I've got, what's that guy's face who produced it and helped him release it and save the whole production? You know what I'm talking
Jordan
about.
Peele.
Thank you. That's why you're here. You laugh at me so you have time to think of the actual name, because you couldn't think of it either.
I know who.
Yeah, sure.
I just think it's funny. Out of his like famous movies, you went with Nope, which
It's the most recent.
but it's like the least liked that he's made.
Well, yeah, but I was just going back in time chronologically to find the first thing I could think of, and that's what I found.
Fair
Don't
point.
Sue me, I guess.
No, don't sue us, sweet.
Don't sue me.
Don't do that, guys.
But Kill was especially fun after we did our Indian movie introduction episode last year, I guess middle of last year, because we got introduced to kind of how they work and how the love stories work. And Kill is a phenomenal action movie, but it does also incorporate those love things and the wedding things and Indian culture things, and it's a very cool movie. What other stunt performances did you like this?
Man, this was James said it right. It was an awesome year for stunts, and there's plenty of other movies that had amazing stunt work in it that we did not nominate. That's okay. They can still be praised. I think one of the ones kind of not talked about a lot was what James said was Furiosa. It's a Mad Max movie. It is nothing but stunts. It was so much fun watching all the car stunts that they do. Always amazing, always a blast. Bad Boys, shockingly, was a lot of fun, and it really did have to be due to all of the action sequences, obviously.
Yeah.
But Ministry, the fight choreography, because it's so, the majority of the fight choreography is all like in tight spaces. I love fight scenes that are like that, where it's compressed and it's almost, the fights are forced to be like more spontaneous and a little bit more, I just lost the word. Oh,
Just
well.
like intimate and personal.
Yeah, I like that
space.
kind of fight, those kinds of fight scenes. So, and Monkey Man was just, I think it's funny, we're two categories in, and
We will eventually stop nominating Monkey Man.
we will stop talking Monkey Man shortly, but not right now, because it's a pretty great film. But it was just, what a blast of a year. Absolute blast. And
and Furiosa, I feel like, was very high on the list of options, particularly because of that one scene that they spent 78 days filming. And it's a 15-minute scene, but it took 200 different people 78 days to complete this shot or sequence in the movie. It's definitely one of the best. It's, as soon as I was watching the movie, I was like, I'm in because of this scene primarily. So stunts play a big role in those kinds of movies working out. All right, but the best stunts of the year, I think it's no.
it can't be a surprise, guys. It can't be.
It's not a surprise to us, and it won the fan poll as well very heavily. The Fall Guy being a year about stunts, I think the reason that it won also surpassed the actual movie itself, and the fact that it was bringing light to stunt performers, bringing the spotlight, so stunt performers, bringing them to the premieres and having live stunts done and explosions and wall breaks and all of this stuff, bringing it outside the theater into the real world to promote the movie and also promote the careers of these people.
Yeah.
It was so commendable. And I'm still disappointed that it didn't do it as good as we thought it would overall, being such an enjoyable movie, having such enjoyable leads, having everything going for it. It is longer than I would think you would imagine this kind of movie would be. But then I think back and I'm like, well, there's this stunt and there's this stunt and then there's this stunt and then there's this stunt and then there's I was like, you got to fit all that in and it's worth every penny.
I got to tell you, I introduced my daughter to this movie, who at the time that we watched it was 14.
Yeah.
And she was sucked into it from the get-go. We watched the extended cut, and she did not care that it was a long film. When it ended, she was just like, that was fantastic. What an awesome... Like, she adored this movie. From just the silly storyline to the actual stunt work, which blew her mind. As it should, the movie even set a record with one of the stunts done in the film. So, it was everything fans of stunt work want in a movie. And yeah, I think it will always be one of the biggest puzzles of 2024 of why it did not dominate the box office, because it completely deserved to.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. Yeah, the more I watch like behind the scenes interviews or behind the scenes like shots or footage or just them telling stories of what happened during making it, I feel like they could definitely fill a book of how the interesting things in it and what it was like when they broke the record for the car flips and how nervous they are. And they didn't have to. They got it initially, but had like 3 end over end flips. And they're like, well, we just move on. And the stuntmen were like, no, we want to do this.
Right.
Let us risk our lives just to try this one thing one more time. And it's not downhill like the Casino Royale previous holder of it was, and it's not, and it is like flat and on sand, and it was just so technically insane that they pulled it off.
Yeah,
that's a large reason why we don't have 2 stunt categories this year. Last year we had the best single stunt and then the best overall stunt coordination and everything. I feel like when you break a world record, that is probably the best stunt of the year. Yeah, so 1 category this year. But we have another new category, the most enjoyable bomb. 2024 was no stranger to bombs, I think. There were a lot. Some were expected, some were unexpected.
Deserved.
Yeah, and some were definitely earned, I would say that. And so we wanted to review, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they should not be watched or even enjoyed or owned in your own personal library.
That's fair.
Because we had several that we liked watching, even if they didn't make a lot of money or even if they had a 4.0 on IMDb. So to talk about the most enjoyable bombs of the year, Lisa's back from Real Movie Lovers podcast, and she's incredible. So watch this.
Hey guys, Real Movie Lovers podcast here, giving you weekly videos on movies, TV, current events, and tech news on my YouTube channel and NXG Global Productions. But enough about me. That's not why we're here. What you really want to know about is our next category of nominees. Have you ever sat down to watch a movie and within the first 10 minutes felt the horrifying realization that you made a terrible mistake?
Oh, yeah.
Every fiber of your being screaming at you to turn it off and get out of there. And just when you summon the courage to fight the complacency of what you've done with your life, something miraculous happens. There is a shift, a bright light. And all of a sudden, a new sensation comes over you. No longer is there suffering, but now, amusement? Dare I say, delight? Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the nominees for the most enjoyable bomb. Hey, I said enjoyable bomb. Yeah.
There it is.
Okay. That's more like it. That's what I think. Hit it. Madam Webb, if there's one thing Sony knows how to do, it's give you a live action, not Spider-Man, side character movie that you never asked for. Borderlands. Because why be faithful to the source material when you can throw caution to the wind and cast whoever and do whatever the you want to do?
Yeah.
A sequel whose super art concept and story execution was so highbrow, they had to make the title French. Horizon, an American Saga, Chapter 1. A movie I'm going to pretend I knew existed. Rebel Moon,
Not alone in
director's
that.
cut. Because you're going to get Zack Snyder's full vision, whether you like it or not. Megalopolis. If you start your career on a high with The Godfather and Apocalypse Now, there's nowhere else to go but down.
For an
Argyle.
effect.
When you've done the dirty work of fooling your audience into thinking the Man of Steel is a key character in the movie. And finally, Unfrosted. The best type of Pop-Tart combined with the worst type of jokes. In a category of losers, who's the real winner? You decide. Thank you so much, Movie Bonerz, for having me back again this year. It is always an honor and an absolute pleasure. I'm looking forward to checking out the other categories and nominees.
Amazing. I forgot to mention in the directorial debut category, Jerry Seinfeld was not nominated, but he was a
'cause
first-time
he directed
director.
Unfrosted. That's right.
And it's amazing that at his advanced age that he's never directed a movie before. And then it may not be surprising to other people that did not like Unfrosted that that's the first time he's directed a movie before. A lot of people didn't like it.
And it might
But
not.
it's a silly, streamable movie. It's not like a big, obviously serious auteurship kind of movie.
Fair.
Speaking of movies that are not serious, Madam Web was a joke from the beginning. And so I put the IMDb ratings on here. Madam Web could be considered the worst movie of the year by some standards. It did win the Razzie for Worst Picture overall. But I would not say it was the worst movie of the year by any stretch because it was a silly, fun, ridiculous time that it was just clear that people weren't trying very hard to make it, and there were avoidable things that were not avoided because it was rushed or whatever. But it had made for a very fun and funny watch. So I like Madam Web quite a bit. It's very funny.
I keep going to it to watch it just to see how bad is this? And then before I can hit select, I'm always like, yeah, not right now. So
Yeah, that's fair.
but it is a goal, finally get around to watching Madam Web.
You have to.
I feel like I have to. I feel like I'm
It's
obligated to.
It's like when people are like, oh, you haven't ever seen The Godfather before? I can't believe you haven't watched this staple of American cinema history. You have to see it at least once. Just say you've seen it.
Only on Movie Bonerz podcast are you going to have Godfather and Madam Web compared and included in the same sentence.
Not in quality, but just in having
I didn't say
to
quality. I'm
that
just
you've
saying
seen
you
it.
just said that it's now a staple in
In the
American
same
cinema.
sentence. In the same sentence. And speaking of The Godfather, I know you haven't seen Megalopolis
Nope.
yet because I've asked you not to watch
Yes.
Megalopolis yet because I really want to watch it with you while we stream a fan club episode and you experience the nonsense that it is. Because I watched 5 seconds of that movie. I was like, Dustin needs to see this. But people should see him seeing it. And so we'll do an episode on that in the future.
Yeah, all I keep seeing about it are a couple stills from it, and just those stills of Adam Driver make me really question what happened to Francis Ford Coppola. So,
yeah, exactly. And I think Rebel Moon's on here mostly because I think it got disproportional hate when it was first released. It was not great, but people were saying it's the worst thing ever. It's unwatchable. It's all of these things. It wasn't. It was not the best, but also was a victim of a fairly weird situation where they released the theatrical cut version on Netflix initially because they wanted a PG-13 version for some reason and then tanked the reputation of it and then released the R-rated version. And it is markedly better. There are not any ratings on IMDb for the director cuts, so we have the original ratings up there. And so, yeah, I think that maybe people will go back to it at some point in the future and maybe get enjoyment out of it. But it's the kind of thing that if you like it, you like it. If you don't, it's definitely not for you.
yeah, I still stand by what my initial reaction to Rebel Moon was. I think it's his weakest outing. I still stand by that. And that's as a Snyder fan. So,
Okay. That's
yeah,
fair.
yeah.
We don't have to talk about Joker because we'll talk about that later, and it's
Yeah.
not going to win because it's not enjoyable.
Just spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. And then Borderlands, I think Lisa nailed it. It's just they threw out everything that they should have done, could have done, and decided to throw caution to the wind and do who knows what with who knows what actors in those roles.
And you know, I'm looking at Argyle and I'm like, if it wasn't for that stupid oil scene, it may not have been as bad of an experience as it ended up being.
Yeah. I don't know. It started out pretty good, but it just kept getting more and more. And it was the oil scene, or it was the smoke in the hallway scene, or maybe it was
the smoke in the
combination.
hallway.
I don't even
forgetting
remember
about
which
that.
comes first. I want to say Smoke in the Hallway is first. It was at that point I was like, no, I'm done with this movie. Not even going to try.
I
watched
totally
the whole thing, but I didn't care for it.
forgot about the smoke in the hallway. I feel like I forgot about the last time we brought it up. Oh, well.
Yeah, it's borderline forgettable. But we keep dancing around it. And I think there's one of those movies that is not like the others. And the
A
rating
little
did.
bit.
The rating illustrated that, but it did certainly bomb. Horizon American Saga Chapter 1 was rated, or was voted by all of you, shockingly higher than most movies. It did tie with Argyle, interestingly enough. And then Rebel Moon and Madam Web are tied for third.
All right.
So I think Horizon, though, just stands out as a movie that should have done way better than it did. Even though people aren't into Westerns as much these days, it just doesn't make sense that it did not get any appreciation. I hope, because it is amazing, I hope that as soon as I was watching it, I was like, I want more of this. And I know he's filmed part 2, but he decided not to release part 2 yet. I hope he releases it. And I hope he gets funding for 3 and 4, because I want the full saga in my veins all the time. It's a great, great movie.
It was a massive gamble. That's a real big gamble. Making a 4-part Western in 2024, where people's attention span sticks to like TikTok reels. So,
and largely on your own dime and mortgaging your own properties and all of this stuff just to get this movie made. I love the love for it, I think, is a big part of it.
Yeah. So congrats, Horizon. Most enjoyable disaster. Woohoo!
Yeah, that's better than just being a disaster, I think.
That's true. That's true.
And so our next category, we get to celebrate all that goes into creating the environments of a movie, the design, the sets, the costumes, the makeup, the hair, the props, the set design. I think I already said that. All of the things that aren't like visual effects, things that are moving around, things that are, active. And to present, we have the boys from the Nostalgia Test podcast back. They're the ones that I mentioned before complained about being asked late. I did ask them late because I had a bunch of people I wanted to ask, and I forgot, and I didn't get around to them until it was late, and then there were only 2 options left for categories. And so they did design last year. They're doing design again this year. But we really love them, and we really appreciate them, and they're hilarious. So check this out.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the 2024 Movie Bonerz Awards. Woo! We're doing, of course, this is the Nostalgia Test podcast. I'm here with my crew, and of course, we got the best one to nominate. It's the best design. Why do we get stuck with this one? I think we're an afterthought. But here we go. Guys, did you watch
Like when people change their channel for doing the actual Oscars.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna get a beer, take a piss.
Yeah, best design. That's what I'm sure everybody's listening to this one. Anyways, I did I know last year we only watched like one. I think. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I did watch a lot of these actually. Oh, except for Terrifier 3. Yeah, I'm not into that kind of stuff. But Billy, you said you saw the.
So I have not watched the movie, but I did watch. There's this band Ice Nine Kills that my son got really into, where all they sing are songs about horror movies, and it was like the official song for the movie. So Damien Leone, who directed it, directed the music video. I mean, I don't usually like splatterfest gore stuff, but from a design perspective, assuming the movie looks similar, it doesn't look. It's almost worse because it looks very realistic. So, that's my experience. It's not like when
we got Nosferatu, Dune 2, Terrifier 3, Gladiator 2.
Your favorite movie, Manny?
My favorite of all time movie. Don't fucking rent it. Don't buy it. Don't watch it.
I side with you so much on that. What a waste of
hit us up.
Deadpool and Wolverine, and then Saturday Night. I
saw
know
that
which
too.
one I picked.
I saw
right away.
Deadpool,
I
Wolverine.
watched Deadpool, Gladiator, Dune 2, and Saturday Night. So
Wow.
Terrifier 3 and Nosferatu are the only ones I didn't watch.
Okay.
But they all look great, like in the previews. I would say Gladiator is a terrible design. They put sharks. They put
What?
computer generated sharks in the Coliseum,
Like Sharknado.
Yeah, dude, it was dumb because.
But I thought they did that for real back in the day. I vaguely remember hearing about that in history.
They didn't put the sharks in there.
They just did the water battles.
Yeah,
okay.
but I'm like, why put the sharks if it wasn't real? Like, that was dumb to me.
How would you get them there?
Yeah, I was like back in the day too. The shark would have died by the time it got there. Like, it's not like they were gonna like spray.
That's why we love these guys.
Like spraying hoses like Free Willy style.
Oh, future fucking episode teasing there, man.
Future episode. Yeah, exactly, bro.
I like
Fucking
it.
Easter eggs in
Good
here.
foreshadowing.
Anyways, all right, let's get to it because I think we went on a ramble last time.
Yeah.
My vote's gonna go for Saturday Night. I thought it was. I thought the set design was perfect. I felt like I was the first day of the Saturday Night. First of all, it was a great movie, I think, and also the set design was phenomenal.
And Billy, you're doing Terrifier 3.
No, I forgot that I saw Deadpool and Wolverine, so I'm gonna go with that. I thought it was well done. Look good. There were a lot of good sets from Marvel movies
like all the different ones.
Yeah. So I thought it was pretty well done.
Some of it looked cheesy, but I like it was purposely done that way.
Yeah, Deadpool. It's supposed to be a little cheesy, right? So I'm gonna go Deadpool.
Okay.
Well, I didn't see any of these movies. I've seen Dune 1, a little bit of it, lots of sand. I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
But this is a pro Snack Shack podcast, and so I'm putting my vote in for Saturday Night. Shout out to Snack Shack and Gabriel LaBelle, who starred in Saturday Night and Snack Shack, and he played Lorne Michaels. Shout out to Connor Sherry and Mika Abdallah. You can check out the interview I did with them on the podcast. But I'm going Saturday Night.
Shamelessly plugging ourselves here. Love it.
Isn't that what podcasting is? Just shameless plugs all over the place.
Yeah.
All right. Well, guys, Movie Bonerz. Thank you for inviting us.
Yeah.
Right there.
There it is. So Saturday night,
I mean,
wins.
I think they have us on because they need a little more hate because they like everything.
They do.
We bring hate in spades, bro.
Yeah.
We got you covered, boys.
Don't watch it.
Yeah, everyone, check us out.
Freaking computer generated sharks, dude. Come on.
Gladiator 2 trash. Don't want to see it. Everyone, check out the Nostalgia Test podcast wherever you get your podcast. Check us out on Substack. We get Manny's movie reviews, my weird ramblings, and hit us up on Instagram, and you can join our Discord. We do all that stuff. It just Linktree. Go to our bio and hit us up and leave comments and share it, people.
Smash.
Thank you again for inviting
people.
us. Movie Bonerz.
Another plug.
Another plug. I got the hat on. Later.
Amazing.
I still laugh that we even put Gladiator 2 on the nominees.
Yeah.
I feel like it was a joke.
Yeah.
Because that movie is just
It definitely was a joke.
so freaking horrible.
And not only is like there's a lot of historical weirdness with it, like the weird emaciated albino emperor kids. That was kind of defamation because the actual guy that was in history didn't look like a piece of shit like that.
Well, the whole movie was a defamation. Even Russell Crowe was like, this is not what it is at all.
Okay. Well, not to disqualify or say that we aren't the best and most illustrious and most accurate award show ever.
Fair.
Ignore that nomination. The others, though, quality nominations.
Yes.
I also wrote in, I don't know why we didn't nominate Alien Romulus and Rebel Moon 1 and 2. They had already recorded their segment by the time I realized it, and I was like, this probably should happen. So I wrote them in because we could at least say that we did in the future. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because Alien Romulus, even though it had some VFX issues, the overall production design, sets, props, all the practical, that's effects. We're not talking about that. But it looked phenomenal. The sets, everything looked phenomenal. And then like this, as Saturday Night, I haven't seen Snack Shack. Have you seen Snack Shack?
I have not.
So many people have started hearing things about it, but it was like really late in the process of getting this going. So I'm interested in that. But Saturday Night, just being able to get the feel of the actual first show that was so documented. It was live on TV and all this stuff. I meant to try to find out like how much of that they still had and how much they had to like recreate from scratch. But then I also imagine when you're trying to recreate from scratch, something that they put together with popsicle sticks and like a shoestring budget and nobody wanted them to make, it's probably not that hard.
Right.
It did look amazing.
It did. It really did.
And Terrifier 3, amazing.
It's so good.
On a lot of levels. We'll talk about Terrifier 3 a lot during this show. And Dune Part 2, obviously, is probably the biggest just visual experience overall. And Nosferatu, I feel like it's like everything that you would hope a goth vampire movie could be.
Yeah.
It just felt so accurately done.
It definitely makes you feel like you're in that time period, and in like, if Gothic had a setting, it would be Nosferatu.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Robert Eggers, so
right.
But
I feel like he's
what you're expecting.
He's able to go a little further with Nosferatu than he was with like The Lighthouse or The Witch or something like that, where it's even the Norsemen. It's like, okay, you got some stick huts and loincloths and axes, and it's like with Nosferatu you just kind of get to go all out with this whole visual thing.
And Deadpool and Wolverine, yeah, the cheesy sets were done on purpose. It really did feel like you were watching a comic book movie come to life. Like, it felt like reading a Deadpool comic, which is fantastic. It was just joyful, like the way they set it all up. But there can only be one winner, folks.
There can only be one, just like the Highlander. And in this case, it's Dune Part 2. All sequels should just be Part 2 now.
No, let's not follow Todd Phillips' idea.
No, terrible idea. Dune did win the fine vote. Beat Nosferatu pretty handily, but Nosferatu was also very solid.
Yeah.
And I think, Dune 2 is just the total package, from costumes to sets to props, locations, vehicles, creatures, everything. Flawless movie.
Look at that popcorn bucket.
I was wondering if you would notice that.
I saw it right away, dude.
The design of the popcorn bucket also contributed to the experience of the overall
award. Yeah, just the popcorn bucket.
Defined 2024. So shout out to whoever designed that popcorn bucket. I'm sure you got a lot of credit for that. I hope you did. All right, Sleeper Classic. This is another new category, and I was thinking about all of the Oscar award shows through the years and how there's so many movies you look back on, you're like, oh, I love that movie from 1984. I love that movie from 1989 or something like that. But it's never the ones that got attention or awards. And so we tried to, with a mind towards the future, look backwards and say, what movie now isn't getting enough praise that in the future people will be like, that was a cult classic.
Right.
That was one that was slept on. And so that's where the cult classic comes from. We have another new presenter, a streamer dude, Shane from Dudes Like Movies and Stuff on Instagram, who's always posting amazing, like, kind of hidden gem clips or movies from the early 2000s, 90s, 80s that you even forgot came out or you watched as a kid and you're like, oh my gosh, this movie is insane. And I'm always posting clips and recommending like where you can stream stuff and all this. So love following him. You should definitely do the same. Here he is. I'm so fulfilled having my face stroked by Wolverine.
Yep.
All right. Hey, everyone. This is Shane. I'm part of the IG page, Do Likes Movies and Stuff. Thank you, Justin and Jake, for inviting me to present a category here. This seemed pretty fun, and you guys helped me boost up my software skills. I had no idea how to do any of this stuff, so thank you in advance, and looking forward to collaborate again another time. I'm going to say the 8 nominations for the Sleeper Classic. So here we go. So the first nominee is Abigail. I was really interested when this was announced because it's by the Radio Silence team. Been a fan of theirs since Ready or Not, and I liked how they did Scream 5 and Scream 6. But this is a cool little concept where a little girl gets kidnapped and it turns out she's a vampire. So, it's a pretty good movie. I really enjoyed it. It's on Amazon Prime Video right now. And the next nominee is Lisa Frankenstein. This is another movie I really enjoyed. I actually voted for this and Abigail. I logged in twice, so sue me. Actually, don't, because I'm not that rich. Yeah, and this movie stars Catherine Newton. She was actually in Abigail, and I liked her since the movie Freaky. You know, she's been in a lot of good movies lately, so there's another one I recommended too. It gives me reminds me of Heathers a bit. Cole Sprouse, I'm not familiar with him. I think he was in like the Disney Channel stuff and all that. But Lisa Frankenstein's pretty cool. It's like this girl meets a dead dude, and then she like starts killing people to put him back to life and all that. It's a really weird movie, but visually it's cool. It has like a cool little style to it. I really digged it, and I think that should win too. That and Abigail, somehow they could be co-winners. On to the next one. This is on Prime Video as well too, by the way. Oddity, I never saw before, but I read good things about it. It has really great reviews, and it's an Irish horror movie. And it's the synopsis is really just about a psychic medium is trying to uncover the truth about her sister's death. And I'll just leave it at that because I don't want to go in knowing too much. I want to be surprised and pretty shocked when I see this. But this movie's on AMC Plus in case you want to stream it. So Caddo Lake. I finally watched this a few weeks ago on HBO Max. It's pretty good. I was reading mixed reviews, and it was produced by M. Night Shyamalan. So, you know, he's been hit or miss lately, and that movie Trap sucked over the summer. But, yeah, it's a good mystery. It's like some girl goes missing, so they start looking for her, and then they find some mysterious things about the lake. So it's a pretty good streamer hit. Yeah, well-deserved nomination. Our next movie is Monkey Man. This was pretty good too. It's not some crazy action movie. It's like Dave Patel tries to get revenge for his mother's death. I've been a fan of his since Slumdog Millionaire. But yeah, it's a pretty good movie. It's just like two big, long action scenes. Just the subtitles were pretty annoying to read, but it was a pretty good movie. I'll give it that. This is on Prime Video too, by the way. And this is a Shudder original. I've been hearing this great reviews about this in A Violent Nature, where they follow the slasher himself and, you know, see his perspective and his views as he's killing people. I always love a good slasher horror, so I can't give an honest opinion yet, but this movie, you know, it's been getting some good reviews. And Starved Acre is the last nominee. Never saw this one yet, too. It's an Irish horror movie. I believe it involves some folklore and everything, but I've been hearing good stuff about it. I didn't want to read too much about it since when I watch it, I want to be kind of surprised. But it's not on any streamer yet. It's still just available for rent. So we have 8 nominees in total right now, and Dustin and Jake are going to take over right now and announce the winner.
TV respects me. It laughs with me, not at me.
Amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, did you see Trap? I don't think you saw
I haven't
Trap.
watched Trap yet. It's
Okay.
another one a lot like Madam Web where I keep coming across it and I'm like, let's do it. Nah, not night. No.
It's not bad, but it's also not great.
Yeah.
But I do think Cato Lake did a good job of riding the wave of people talking about Trap and also being associated with M. Night Shyamalan.
Pun intended?
Without, yeah, maybe.
All right.
Without actually getting sucked into, oh, it's an M. Night Shyamalan movie. It's
Okay.
like, it did a great job. Usually you don't see produced by this person and you're like, I don't know if I should care or not. I think it did a good job of being like, you should care enough, but also not worry that it is produced by M. Night Shyamalan, that kind of thing. It used that, I don't know, marketing thing effectively somehow, which was interesting. Yeah, Abigail, phenomenal.
Yeah.
Vampire movie, kind of movie that you go in. It's better to go into not knowing it's a vampire movie, I think, but it is very exciting, and I think a lot of people will come to it later on. And same for Lisa Frankenstein. I've seen a lot of people say Lisa Frankenstein was actually their favorite movie of the year. So I think some people have found it, some people have loved it, and I think that's a good thing for getting that word of mouth going.
Yeah.
That this is a movie that you should enjoy, but hopefully it will get its awareness out there. You haven't seen Oddity either, have you?
I haven't seen Oddity.
Oh my gosh.
I did
liked it a
see
lot.
Abigail and Lisa Frankenstein though, and I totally agree with Shane. Lisa Frankenstein reminded me of Heathers, like a modern Heathers, which is funny to say because it takes place in the 80s. But if you like 80s kind of nostalgia, that feel, all the neon stuff, Lisa Frankenstein was a lot of fun.
Yeah. I just saw Shane put in the chat that he forgot to put Joker 2 in his list. That's okay.
That's all right, man.
I can't even fathom. A lot of people wrote in and said, we nominate Joker 2 as potentially being the kind of movie that people will come around to in the future. It got a lot of hate early on, but people might grow to respect it. I have no idea how that's possible. It's not going to win. Spoiler alert again. Maybe. Anything's possible. I have said that about movies in the past, just full transparency. I said The Witch was the worst movie I'd ever seen.
We both
walked out of
said
that movie.
Yeah.
We didn't walk out in the middle of it, but we walked out at the end of it and said, I don't know. I didn't like that movie. I don't know if you like that movie. I feel like we should talk about how terrible that is. But when I don't see that happening with Joker 2. I don't see me revisiting in the future, me like, I was totally wrong. It could happen, but it's a small chance.
I'm not even giving it the small chance. I think that movie ends up becoming frowned upon more so than like Madam Web. I think Joker ends up being just known as one of the all-time horrible films ever made. So
I'm here for that. That sounds right to me.
Yeah.
In a Violent Nature, I think that a lot of people who are horror fans will come to it in the future and say, or people will recommend it. They're like, hey, you're a horror fan who loves these slashers. Have you ever seen one from the perspective of the slasher? And if people are like, no, that sounds amazing, I want to watch it. So I think that'll definitely happen.
Yeah.
And then Starvaker is such a unique, kind of in the same camp as Oddity. They're small, unique, unknown movies that came out this year that deserve to be found in the future by people to say, oh, wow, that's a different and pretty startling and concerning kind of movie. Really cool. The winner, though, because there can only be one, even though they're not co-winners. It's funny enough, the two co-winners that Shane wanted were the two highest rated movies. They tied at the top, or second, I guess. Monkey Man and Lisa tied for second. Abigail did win overall. So we did agree with you. Abigail is the winner.
Abigail was just, as a fan of horror, as a fan of like fun comedic horror, Abigail hit every note that I've been missing in the genre. This movie was a blast from the get-go, and the couple times I've rewatched it, I'm just like, yep, this is one of the better ones.
Yeah. And it's always fun having a good take on one of the classic monster types. And it is scary, but also really fun. 10/10, no notes on this movie.
Yeah. What a joy of a film. Good
Best
pick,
visual
Shane.
effects. Yes, good job, Shane. Best visual effects. So carrying over from the design, actually focusing on the effects, digital effects and practical effects, just overall what movie we felt did it better. Nobody does effects better than horror movies, so it worked out well that the Jamie and John from the Horror Dads podcast came on to do this, and they, I think, do a good job of describing why effects matter so much, not just in horror, but in all of these other movies.
Yeah.
Vibing out over there.
What's up, everyone? Jamie and John from Horror Dads here. Film has always been about imagination, especially in horror, a place where the impossible becomes terrifyingly real. From grotesque creatures to mind-bending supernatural phenomena, visual effects are the magic that brings our nightmares to life. For this award, we honor the artists and visionaries who transform new worlds into something tangible.
The Best Visual Effects Award recognizes the incredible craftsmanship behind the scares and the scenery. The practical and digital artistry that makes us truly question what is real. Whether through seamless CGI, transformational practical effects, or a perfect blend of both, these nominees have elevated storytelling to a whole new level, proving that fear is often most powerful when we can see it take shape before our eyes. This year's nominees are Terrifier 3,
Furiosa, a Mad Max saga.
Dune 2,
The Fall Guy.
Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes,
In a Violent Nature.
Stop Motion,
And my personal favorite, The Substance.
and the winner is
Yes, a lot of people love The Substance, obviously being, I think, having a horror movie in the Oscars, whether it wins or not, I think is a big deal and doesn't happen often. It's kind of nice to see, and especially one that's so focused on the practical bodysuits and effects and hoses of blood and things like that. That's always a good time. I'm down with that. Stop motion, one that I made you watch or did recommended you watch recently that you, I think, had mixed feelings about.
I did.
But you did agree that the visual effects, particularly the stop motion animation, was amazing, right?
It really is. Yeah, the care that they put in for the actual stop motion parts of the film were incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had mixed kind of feelings about the movie as a whole, but there is no denying that taking that kind of time and energy to make that flawless kind of stop motion animation was incredible. So
yeah, so creative and so well done.
Mm-hmm.
And then In a Violent Nature, being a slasher, has a lot of great effects, but it also had a couple of moments where I was like, oh, like I haven't seen a killer do that to a person before. And if you've seen it, you know the cliff scene being an important one. That's the best way I can describe it without giving it away.
Mm-hmm.
And then King of the Planet of the Apes, I saw recently how each of the 4 ape movies were released at like awful times for awards for visual effects, even though they are so groundbreaking and incredible and immersive and all of these things. There's just movies that edge them out each time, so it kind of sucks for the Weta digital folks over there. But Planet of the Apes, especially, I mean, all of them equally, I think.
Yeah, all 4 of them are incredible in terms of the visual effects aspect.
Like you go into it thinking like, okay, I know that I'm watching CGI apes, motion capture apes, but then you find yourself just forgetting and getting sucked in and just totally being involved. And I think that's what movies and visual effects are all about.
Mm-hmm.
And then The Fall Guy might seem out of place here, but if you watch it or rewatch it and focus on all of the practical stunts that happen, all of the effects that go into it, like blowing up this car, like lighting this guy on fire, all the smoke, all of the debris, all of this other stuff, glass, everything. It's all real and it all counts and it's all amazing. And doing it for real really sells it.
Yeah, I think the one that surprises everybody, if you stuck around to watch the credits, as you should have on this film, where they're showing them film all of the stunts, I think the one that really blows me away every time I watch it is the fight inside the dumpster in the middle of the street. I think that's a scene that everyone went into figuring there's no way they did it, and then you watch them actually filming it. You're like,
that's a soundstage. That's not a street in Australia. Yeah, no, they did it for real.
They did it.
And Furiosa has some visual effects problems. I don't know why it felt different to me compared to Fury Road, where I'm like, this feels more green screeny in spots.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, I thought this still did a really, really good job. And Terrifier 3, I mean, is way up there on the conversation for the whole year.
Yes, this is, for people that have been listening to us for a while, you guys know I love horror. I love the Terrifier franchise. Terrifier 3 was everything that I wanted it to be in terms of how effectively gross and disturbing and hilarious the gore in that movie is. You brought up In a Violent Nature of, a couple scenes I'm laughing, and then you still have a moment of like, oh, they went there. All right. Terrifier 3 is 2 hours of that. So
Yeah, no other horror movie can really hold a candle to what they accomplished with the Terrifier franchise. Yeah. It's insane.
And then Dune Part 2, I mean, what can you say?
You could say that it wins.
Except you could say it wins. This one, this was a tough one for me because...
It was such a hard one.
Yeah, I wanted to go for Terrifier 3 just because of how effective the effects, the practical effects of it were. But yeah, going back to Doom Part 2, the flawless and like seamless mix of CGI with the sets, with the practical effects, all of it, the way that it's all just so well done together, you can't deny it. You just, you can't.
Yeah, we couldn't deny it. You, the listeners, voted it highest as well. Terrifier 3 was the next highest voted, with The Substance and Planet of the Apes tying for third. I think, I don't know if it's because we've been watching huge budget movies come out with terrible CGI.
Just the worst. Looking at you, Marvel.
And DC, and it seems like so many movies lately have been like huge budgets. Why does this look terrible? Why does this look rushed? Why is this worse than a movie from 2006 that we know was CGI? It's just so bizarre. And so it was refreshing to see Dune 2 and be like, I'm not thinking about the fact that that spaceship doesn't exist. I'm not thinking about the fact that all of this must be CGI. I'm just immersed, and it made me in the movie the most, I think. And so that, for that reason, because it was so invisible, that made it have to win in my mind.
Yeah, you can't deny it.
And pairing it with Greg Fraser's cinematography and him shooting such beautiful things that partly weren't even there, it just works so well.
It's true.
All right. Returning from last year, we have the most improved from low expectations category. And also returning from last year, we have the great Liz from Liz in a Movie, who she got involved in this very early on, but chose to do the same category again because she loved it so much, and she will tell you why.
Hey everybody, it's me, Liz from Liz in a Movie, back again to help bring in the second annual Movie Bonerz Awards. And for the second year in a row, I have the incredible honor of announcing the Most Improved from Low Expectations category. I'm so glad that Jake and Dustin have included this category in their special awards ceremony, because I think it's like the perfect category for all of us movie lovers. Everybody loves a surprise. We all love really good movies. So to go to a movie or to turn on a movie at home and watch it with low expectations and then maybe come out and love it, that's like the best feeling ever. Also, as fellow movie industry people, we understand exactly how much love and care and time and effort goes into making a film. So when it turns out to be really good, that just makes us all kinds of excited. And with that, I think it's time to announce the nominees from the Most Improved from Low Expectations categories of the second annual Movie Bonerz Awards. I have my trusty purple popcorn bucket here to help us pick who we're going to talk about and when. Up first, we have Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I'm not going to act like I saw this movie. I didn't see a lot of the movies in this category, but I especially didn't see this one. So I don't have a lot to say, but what I will say is the original Planet of the Apes movie came out 55 years ago. So they've held on to their audience for 55 years. So they're doing something right. And our second nominee is Inside Out 2. This one was so cute. I loved Inside Out. I was actually really excited for Inside Out 2. I didn't know what direction they were going to go with it. They grew up with their audience. They brought in some new emotions, which were so cute. And Barris was my favorite. I'm a big Eeyore gal, so of course I loved him. And I liked how relatable it was, not only for children, but also for adults who've gone through that. So great choice. Third on our list, we have Rebel Moon, specifically the director's cut. Honestly, I'm pretty shocked I haven't seen this one. It seems like something I would really like. I love sci-fi. The synopsis looks really good. It's got a great cast. And yeah, it just seems like something I would like. So I'm definitely going to go watch it. Thanks for the recommendation. Okay, up next, we have Twisters. Okay, this one's my pick for the winner. And I'm going to tell you why. I think that the writers and the production team did an absolutely fantastic job capturing the essence of the original Twister movie, but making this one different enough that it wasn't just like a remake or stealing old ideas. I also absolutely loved the cast. I thought they were phenomenal. The CGI was amazing. All of the special effects, really. it was just great. The next nominee is The First Omen. I did not watch this one. I'm not a horror fan. There's another horror movie in there. I'm not a horror fan, so I don't usually watch horror movies. So this is completely up to you guys. Next, we have Smile 2. Yep, there's the second horror movie. Also didn't see this one, nor have I seen Smile. So again, don't have a lot to say. There's only 2 nominees left in this category. Okay, the penultimate. Oh my gosh, I've always wanted to say this. Live from New York, it's Saturday night. This one is the SNL documentary about like the first night that they did SNL, which is pretty cool, honestly. SNL has gotten a lot of buzz recently with it being the 50th anniversary, which makes this movie coming out extra special. And I feel like a movie about SNL has got to be fantastic and something that Jake and Dustin would love. So I wouldn't be surprised if this one's at the top of their list. And the very last nominee, let's get a drum roll, is Roadhouse. Fun fact, this one's a remake. You probably already knew that, but I didn't. So there's probably someone else out there that didn't as well. So leaving that as a fun fact. Also, my husband thinks he looks like Jake Gyllenhaal. Don't know how that goes with anything, but anyways, your house. I'm sure it's great. So there you have it. Our nominees for the Most Improved from Low Expectations categories for the second annual Movie Bonerz Awards. I am so excited to hear what Jake and Dustin have to say and who they've picked. And thank you so much for tuning in. And thank you so much for having me back. Bye, guys.
Liz. Well, first of all, congratulations, Liz, for having a husband that looks like Jake Gyllenhaal. Whether he does or not, he has the confidence to say that he does, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's a bold statement. You know what I'm really proud of Liz for in that segment? No Saltburn poster behind her. I'm so proud of you, Liz. I'm so proud of you. Yes.
It's changed it up a little bit. I did forget to mention that Liz is the first presenter tonight who's not only presenting an award, but she's also nominated for an award.
Nominated?
Yeah, so she was a guest on our podcast last year for the Fan Theories in Across All Movies episode, and phenomenal episode. There are a couple of other presenters who are nominated for that award. I forgot to mention, it's a real award. Like, we're going to be giving out the best fan host, whatever you call this, not host, guest on the podcast episode, and mailing it to whoever wins. So there are real stakes for those of you that are nominated. Look forward to that.
Put that on your mantle and explain that to your family.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, Inside Out 2, even though it was the biggest movie of the year, highest grossing movie of the year, I think we were both very worried about it. It being so long since the first one, and the environment that movie's come out in has changed, and it felt like they could easily take that movie in the direction of being very regressively, like, woke, I guess, having much of agendas.
They could have gotten
manipulating
out of hand
the story of these kids. Yeah. And it was very refreshing that they didn't, and actually put out a movie that everybody can identify with and learn from, not just kids, but even adults. I was very impressed that Inside Out 2 actually did that, kind of overcame that.
Yeah.
What do you have?
I was just going to say, part of me, as much as I love Liz doing this, presenting this one, I can't help but have a little, I think it would have been really funny if the Nostalgia guys presented this one, just because their take on Roadhouse and our take on Roadhouse weren't exactly in line, but that's what made it so funny.
Yes. Yeah, they're protectors of the nostalgia of the original movies. And the original Roadhouse we certainly love, but they were more harsh and we were much more forgiving of the Jake Gyllenhaal, Conor McGregor Roadhouse. I think that it definitely lacked a lot of things that it could have benefited from that made the original great, that it didn't have. But there was also quite a bit to love. It was a fun, interesting, the action was shot in an interesting way. And Conor McGregor made a great villain, honestly. Great heel, I would say.
I still laugh at him. His acting in that movie is still one of the funniest performances I think will ever be on film.
Yeah.
For me, whenever you do a prequel, no matter the genre, I think there's like a collective groan around audiences. When you make a prequel to what is known on the hierarchy of classics within a genre, like it's high up there, you're being bold or being really stupid.
Yeah.
And I think First Omen ended up just being a complete surprise of honoring the original, not trying to outdo the original, and then actually kind of being an effective horror film. Like it achieved what it needed to do, and that was really surprising to me. That was really surprising.
As a standalone horror movie, it does a lot of really unnerving and interesting and new things. It didn't feel like, oh, we're trying too hard to connect back to the requel Member Berries legacy sequel stuff. And we were also very hesitant coming off the back of The Exorcist Believer fiasco that, oh no, they're doing this kind of thing again.
Hey.
And giving it to a first-time director, it was such an amazing thing that it came out so phenomenal. So First Omen is way up there. I think Saturday Night, it just felt like Saturday Night Live has been down here. They've sunk down, and they've been in kind of a press problem where everybody says it's not funny anymore. It hasn't been funny for a long time. So it felt kind of like Damage Control, like, let's make a movie about when it used to be good. And it ended up, so I was worried that it wouldn't live up, and it really did live up. It was phenomenal. It was like the Avengers of comedy movies. Like, it has all these people, legends, Jim Henson, Billy Crystal, all these people just popping up randomly, and it was phenomenal. I loved that movie.
Yeah, what a great
And then King of the Planet of the Apes, I think that we didn't have super low expectations, but we had concerns with it being the end of the Matt Reeves story, the end of Caesar's story. How are you going to get people reinvested in this? And could it just go off the rails? And it thankfully did not.
No,
so.
it was a really good movie.
Yeah.
But there's only one winner.
Only one winner. And I almost forgot who had won. So Liz gets her wish that Twisters did win.
Twisters?
And for all those reasons that it had no right being good. It felt like a franchise cash grab, or a, hey, we have the rights to this property, maybe we should crank out a movie kind of thing. And it ended up being everything that you would want out of a Twister sequel, even if it came out 2 years after the original one. It would feel the same way as this.
One, when I finally got around to watching it, I didn't see it in the theaters, and that will go down as a giant regret in my movie-loving book, because when I watched this, it was just everything about it was like, how are you achieving nostalgia on such a great level without relying on the Member Berry thing?
Right. Yeah, it wasn't like a direct reference to nostalgia or, hey, there's this thing you like. It was, no, let's just do that, what made the original great, again, and it will feel like that and fill you with those feelings of comfort and joy, and when movies felt different than they do now.
Yeah, it was just...
It really stood out.
One of the most enjoyable films of the year. It really is.
Yeah, the fans thought the same way, so it did win the fan vote. Although it was very mixed in this category, maybe the most spread out of any of the categories. First Omen and Inside Out and Smile 2 all tied for second.
That's a lot. That's kind of crazy that horror films kind of like grew in popularity in 2024.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. So the musical category, I struggled to introduce it because it's so amazing. But so we combined those. Generally, it will be like original score is the thing that you focus on, and you don't put any other kind of stuff in there. We did best music because there was a lot of different things going on this year, not just original composition scores that go on, but also existing music that gets put into movies or musicals. There was a lot of musicals this year for some reason, so we considered those for a moment. I didn't nominate any, but we'll avoid talking about that. And to present this award, we have Brian Rupert from the Reviewing History podcast, which is one of my favorites.
All right.
He's not only a comedian and a filmmaker, but also a teacher, and they talk about the movies that are like based on a true story and how accurate they actually were. him and his friends and other comedians, and they just kind of rip. It's a great time, and you should really enjoy it. You will remember him from last year. He had a phenomenal segment where he did stand up to groans and applause from actual celebrities at the Oscars. Yep. I think he outdid himself with this one though, because I'll just let you enjoy it.
Hello, everybody out there in Movie Bonerz land. It's me, Brian Rupert from the Reviewing History podcast. And I thought, what better way to give out the nominees for Best Music than with the gift of song. And I thought, what better way than to announce it with the best song in any movie this year, La Vaginoplasty. From the sands of doom comes Hans Zimmer's boom. A sin-soaked storm, it fills the room. Nominated now, the boners cheer. A dessert pulse we all revere. Penis and vagina. Penis and vagina. Robin Carolan, Nosferatu's dread, a gothic hum that wakes the dead, stings that bite, a vampire's call. Movie Bonerz loves it all. Penis and vagina, vagina and penis. Oh, the scores they rise, they clash, they sing. For the movie boners, hear them ring. From the screen to the soul, they take control. Best music noms, they rock and roll. Kneecaps beats, they spit and grind. Irish rap, a wild design. Kneecap shakes the streets with flair. Boners nods, yeah, we're there. Penis and vagina. Penis and vagina. Volker better men. Conclave's grace, a papal hush, a sacred space. Pianos whisper, secrets swell. Movie Boner says, damn, that's swell. Penis and vagina. That movie also has a character with a penis and vagina. All the scores, they rise, they clash, they sing. For the movie boners, hear them ring. From the screen to the soul, they take control. Best music noms, they rock and roll. Penis and vagina. Daniel Bloomberg, Brutalissa Raw, strings that cut, they leave you in awe. Chris Bowers flies with Wild Robot's heart, a tender tune, a work of art. The robot had no vagina, no penis, no vagina. A junkie XL, Furiosa roars, engine screams, he settles scores. Joe Pacione, apes arise, a primal beat beneath the skies. Caesar had a penis, Bright Eyes had a vagina. Oh, the scores, they clash, they rise, they sing. For the movie boners, hear them ring. From the screen to the soul, they take control. Best music noms, they rock and roll. Those are the nominees, guys. Hope you enjoyed that rendition of Penis and Vagina.
Oh my gosh. That was like, I hope people have heard the song that's been going around from Emilia Perez, and that is not far off of the actual. He met the quality of that song from that movie. It's amazing.
Oh my gosh, that was incredible.
Wow. We've never had somebody compose an original song for the show.
No, so all right. Wow.
Every time I listen to it, I pick up new lyrics. I'm like, that was really, really clever, really smart. So thank you, Brian. That was amazing.
That was wild. Wow.
What do you feel overall about the soundtracks and scores and things from this year?
Oh my gosh. So this was a weird one for me, dude. I know we did a whole episode of our top 10 scores. We've talked heavily about how important music is to movies. And I found myself being like, I don't remember the music to a lot of movies this last year, which was a weird realization for me. Luckily, there were a couple that I remembered, and safe bets. And when I went and listened to the scores again, it was like, yep.
Yeah. It felt kind of similar to me that there weren't many that stood out as memorable or that I went home and was like, I need to hear that again kind of thing. Although I will say Kneecap stood out to me because it was one of the movies from this last year that I was kind of amazed by, that is using music in a different way, using music as a story and part of the actual rebellion that they're trying to tell, using rapping in their native Irish language, and when they're not supposed to be like speaking Irish is a really cool story, and using the music from the actual like band or whatever that did that was really cool. But there were, I think, several snubs as well in the major awards show. The Wild Robot was a big one that people loved the music, were amazed that it didn't win or get nominated in categories where it should have for its music. And I agree, I love the music from the Wild Robot. I love the movie Wild Robot. I didn't expect, I didn't go into it knowing it was a movie about being a parent, and so that kind of will catch you off guard pretty fast. And then the big one, I think, is Hans Zimmer, that how do you have the GOAT in anything? And and especially for Dune, where that is one of the soundtracks that stands out.
Yeah, when they didn't nominate him just because he reused some pieces from his score for Dune Part 1.
For a sequel, yeah.
That might be one of the dumbest things I've heard the Academy do. It's still his score. It's still the same story.
Yeah.
Get off your pretentious butts and, like, what?
Yeah. It's insane.
The big ones for me that were memorable was Hans Zimmer and Robin Carillon, or however you pronounce his name, but Nosferatu. The music in Nosferatu really struck me because it perfectly makes you feel dread. It perfectly makes you feel like you are stuck in just a hopeless, gothic, dark time, which that whole movie is. Yeah, the music was one of the more memorable aspects of that film.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. Have you seen The Brutalist?
I'm not gonna lie, dude. I have zero interest to watch The Brutalist. I really, like, nothing against it, but it strikes me as, what is it, like 3.5 hours, almost 4 hour long movie? Yeah. It strikes me as potentially the worst 3 hours of my life. So.
It seems harsh.
Like, in terms of being bored, I don't know. I could be wrong. I kind of hope I'm wrong, but it just does not strike me as one I'm going to watch.
That's fair. I haven't watched it either. And I really, really wanted to. I felt compelled to because it was such a big deal at the Oscars, where people were like, "Oh, I didn't watch that. I'm not going to watch it." And I think people are right to criticize them and say, "Well, it's your job as a member of the Academy that you should sit your ass down and watch it."
Right.
They are in the Academy because they've won Academy Awards, and every time that you win, your net worth and everything goes up. Your paycheck for future movies goes up. I have a day job and I have to go to work, and so I just didn't have the time to watch all these things.
Yeah. I feel the same way. They get paid to watch what they're nominating. It's literally in their job description. It is not in our job description. We
did our best.
We did our best. Yeah.
So, spoiler alert, Hans Zimmer wins. There's supposed to be a transition there, but there wasn't one.
But are you guys really surprised that Hans Zimmer won? Come on. It's Hans Zimmer. Come on.
Dune 2 won the fan vote. I think I expected nothing less.
Yeah. So.
And I think it not being nominated at the Oscars played a big role, that people are like, this soundtrack and score and everything deserves to win. And I can't believe it didn't before.
Stupid Academy.
And then Wild Robot, honestly, weirdly was second. Not weirdly, it's a great movie, great score, great songs. So would deserve second place. And then Furiosa was tied with it, and then another tie with The Brutalist and Kneecap.
Nice.
I will say, even though you shit on the Brood list, people say cinematography and music are good.
I don't mean to shit on it.
But I don't know if that's enough for you to watch. To watch a
Right.
3.5 hour movie, you need the story primarily, I think,
Right.
to be there.
Right.
And I've not heard anybody say, "I love this character. I love this story. I love any of that." So, best sequel, prequel, new category, because there were a lot of sequels, prequels. We realized that in the draft. There was like a bunch of movies with the number 4 in them coming out this year.
Yeah.
Prequels and sequels galore. And a lot of people complain about sequels and prequels, and which we get, but we wanted this category because there are still good ones. And it's also our fault that there's sequels and prequels up the butt, because every time you watch a good movie, you're like, that was great. I'd like to see another one, please. Yes. And so they try to give you what you want. And the problem is that they give you a lot of stuff you don't want also. So we tried to narrow it down and say which ones were the best ones.
Right.
And to present this, we have one of the storytelling in this nomination intro is second to none. I think you'll be very impressed by this. Presented by Chaseface Bollockbuster on Instagram, which is a phenomenal name, by the way, Bollockbuster. You just have to watch this.
Hello, Internet.
Hello.
No, not you, Internet. The people on the Internet.
Oh, poop.
I'm Chaseface, and I make movie memes. You could say I'm a...
Memester.
Yeah, that, or his memeness, or memer, or El Memerino if you're not into the whole brevity thing. If you feel like it, you
That
can
is a
follow
great
my
reference.
stupid lowbrow content on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And because apparently they allow anyone these days to have a podcast, I am a co-host on the 10 Things We Hate About Your Movie podcast. My friends and I watch a movie and decide the top 10 reasons to hate it. So yeah, check that out too. Anyways, I am honored to present the nominees for Best Sequel or Prequel. Of course, that brings us to the question, what makes a good sequel or prequel?
Great question. A good movie sequel or prequel builds upon the foundation of the original film
by introducing new challenges and conflicts for the characters
while remaining true to their established personalities and the world they inhabit, essentially taking their story forward with meaningful character development and a fresh plot that doesn't simply rehash the first movie's events.
Yeah. That's right, Internet. It should feel like a natural and satisfying continuation of the narrative rather than a forced repetition or cash grab like most sequels nowadays. Well, without further ado, here are the nominees. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which was praised for its visuals and character development.
Together, you will die.
Shit, not on my watch, motherfucker.
Die, you shit!
Sonic 3, possibly the best of the franchise, receiving acclaim for its fun action sequences, humor, and even some emotional moments. Deadpool and Wolverine, a fun and gory romp with tons of wry and witty references and one-liners. It's a love letter to Marvel fans.
Pegging isn't new for me, friendo, but it is for Disney.
Smile 2, a sequel that has surpassed the original with a more impactful story, deeper psychological elements, and a very strong performance by Naomi Scott. The First Omen, an astoundingly solid prequel with a phenomenal score, atmosphere, slow burn tension, and pretty damn good cinematography too. And for our final nominee, Terrifier 3. You know, what the fuck is the camera doing over there? What the hell, man? Oh my god. Okay, so I'm supposed to read this? The amount of gore and blood was tons of fun, and it was the best part. Okay, yeah, well, that's not for everyone. Terrifier 3 has established itself as a standout independent blockbuster, and to make this achievement of success even more impressive is that Damien Leone has managed this with an unrated status, no big name actors, a modest budget, amazing practical effects, standing out in a genre often dominated by larger productions. Okay, sure, but the plot was... All right, yeah, all right. I mean, you're really funny. In summary, Terrifier 3 sends a powerful and thrilling message to the filmmaking industry about pushing boundaries of raw creativity without requiring hundreds of millions of dollars and overused CGI like most major studios think they need. All right, are we done here?
I respect that.
Yeah.
I respect that a lot.
Yeah. Amazing. Amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it is the smallest category, even though I said there are good sequels that come out. It is the smallest category. There's only 6 nominees.
That's okay. That's okay.
But I think all deserving, like we said. It was funny. I saw that clip that he sent us before I saw The First Omen because I didn't want to watch it.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, where did he get those clips from? Where it's like, you know, the goo on the face and stuff. I was like, that has to be from something else. I was like, no, it's actually from The First Omen.
The movie, yeah.
It's amazing.
He picked one of the most disturbing scenes of the film to use as his clips, which is fantastic.
Just changing the music changes the feeling of it so much.
It's so much. That was almost more disturbing.
Mm-hmm.
No, it was. Not almost. It actually was.
Yeah.
This was a tough category for me, dude. It really was, because I really enjoyed all of these movies.
Yeah. All bangers, all great movies.
All great.
Really hard to choose between them all. And I think they all do the important thing that a sequel should do, which is build upon what made the original great, and while also making the original better. When you watch them both and look back on it, they connect to them in a way that elevates all of the material, I think.
That is a great point to bring up, that not only do they expand and continue to build on the story already set, but they actually they make the previous ones better. That's a big thing with me with the Terrifier franchise, and you and I have talked about this before, where 2 and 3 are great. Love them.
Mm-hmm.
The more that I've watched that as a franchise, the first one, which is usually the one that gets the most hate because it's so cheap and it's so unpolished, yeah. The first one has rapidly become kind of a staple for me of no, it is so much better than people want to give it credit for. Smile 2 was shocking how well that was done. I've told a lot of people it wasn't scary to me, but if you are not a big fan of the genre, or if you're not, I guess, if you haven't watched as much as people like me or people like you and your wife, Smile 2 will mess you up. It really will. Sonic was incredible. That franchise I think that franchise needs to be studied in terms of the success, because what?
Yeah, especially since they pulled it back from the brink of chaos with the redesign of Sonic in the beginning.
And now it's being used as a hopefully another jumping off point for the new designs of Shrek, which, wow, DreamWorks. Wow.
Am I crazy that I don't see the problem or the difference between them? I'm like, it looks kind of the same to me.
So my issue with it, it's not that I hate it. I think it's two things. I think one, the nostalgia factor isn't there.
Because it's not as like low.
Yeah, it's like
as
super
low
polished.
It's like, yeah,
it's
too
very polished, and I don't like that. You know,
Yeah.
I don't. I'm like, give us the blockier kind of cartoony look to it. That's part of the love of Shrek.
I get that.
I also just kind of find myself being like, Shrek 5, all these years later, this feels like that cash grab. It does.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But there's one that just blows me away.
Yeah.
Because it
Like I
has
mentioned,
no right to be that good. No right.
It is insanely good, and I'm glad that even if it didn't win Best Directorial Debut, it wins at least this award, because it is like I said, I watched it because I had to know for sure if we would make it win or not, and it blew me away. It was scary, it was intense, it was unsettling.
It's so
it
unsettling.
Was interesting, and the performances were great. The sound was like, I felt very unnerved just by the sound design and music in this movie as well.
Yeah. Every slow burn, all the beats that it takes during the progression of the story as it gets more disturbing the further along you get, it really did put me back into that 60s and 70s era of patient horror where it stripped everything down, and I think that's what makes it so. Yeah, that's what's so effective, is that it just lingers under your skin. This movie has no right to be good, no right at all, and yet,
in spite of that,
here it is.
Yeah, that they made it good anyway. It's amazing.
So, I'm so happy about this movie. I really am.
Yeah, and audiences as well. Fanomen won the audience vote for their favorite to win. Sonic 3 was second, Planet of the Apes and Deadpool tied for third. Terrifier 3, not as highly rated on any of those.
Not super shocking, considering the word of mouth about it was pretty, if you're sensitive, don't watch this movie. And that's a fair
and
point.
It's unrated and all stuff.
Yeah.
What's happening? What's happening?
I don't know.
Yeah, so he'd send me a clip to play if it ended up losing, and there you go.
There you go. I like that. I respect that.
And then we have another new category, most refreshingly unique movie, and following on the backs of the sequel, prequel, everything is the same that you've seen before. There are a lot of movies, and this is actually one of the largest in the whole award show. Most nominees in this category. There were a lot of good, unique new movies.
And there was one, we never really talked about it, and maybe it's a possible future episode. 24 had some weird movies come out, and we're about to tell you about a few of them.
Yes, absolutely. So this is presented by the great Mr. Bryce Young, who's someone we connected with on Instagram randomly this year, and then just have been DMing back and forth about a bunch of stuff. A really cool guy. Actually works he's always from Kansas City, works closely with two huge franchises there that I think we'll have him on as hopefully a guest in the near future to talk at the movie related one. If you know anything about Kansas City, you might know what that means. And because there were so many nominees in the category, his is short and sweet. He was like, I'm not doing all 10. And I was like, that's totally fine. I understand. and so here we go.
Hello, my name is Bryce Young, and I'm just here to say I just raw dogged my steam room time. What does that mean? It means no headphones. It means no podcast. It means no music. Just the thoughts that were and are in my head. It was refreshing. It was unique, which is perfect because I get to present to you the most refreshing and unique movie of the year. And so I hope one way or the other that we all get to experience something refreshing and unique until we see each other again. Thank you so much.
So here are your 10 nominees. Hundreds of Beavers, which is not often that you see a silent black and white animated movie, live action animated movie come out.
The movie's bonkers. There's no other way to describe it.
I love the marketing of it, where it kind of reused like posters from all the kinds of movies and made them about beavers. Hilarious. Crazy House, which is such a unique premise. It reminds me of if you ever saw back in the like old Adult Swim time frame, there was the Plenty of Cooks short. Maybe you don't know what I'm talking about. Someone
don't
out
know
there
the
knows.
Plenty of Cooks short. You said old
Go to
school.
YouTube and
yeah, I'm
Adult Swim. Yeah, go to YouTube, look up Plenty of Cooks. No, Too Many Cooks. I think it's called Too Many Cooks. It's about like a sitcom that goes haywire.
Okay.
His sitcom intro that goes haywire. Crazy House is basically like that. It's a sitcom with Nick Frost and Alicia Silverstone, but things start going haywire and crazy, and it turns from very sweet and simple to very chaotic and violent and awesome. Stop motion, we already talked about being unique and amazing, even if it's not for everybody or the story's there. Spaceman was an interesting one where everybody loves a Adam Sandler Netflix movie. Everybody streams that. Those are like the biggest hits in the world. Nobody expected Spaceman, though, I think. Everybody's like, what is this movie about? So, very unique movie about him and a spider, I think. And Your Monster, which is a very interesting and unique. I think that this also could have been in the sleeper classic category that people will come to later as a movie that they didn't know existed and will end up loving it. Between this and Abigail, I think Melissa Barrera had a really great year, especially coming off of getting fired from Scream for no reason.
Yeah.
So excited to see what she does next. And then Better Man, which is so unique that it made people actually potentially interested in seeing a biopic about Robbie Williams, a man they never heard of before.
Ish, if you were in the UK.
Yeah. If you're in the UK, you probably heard about him. Maybe, maybe not. I feel like 10 years ago, he did a music video with nudity in it, and that's why I started hearing
Is
about
that
him.
why his name is so familiar? Like a controversial, like...
I think there was a nudity music video, and then he fell off the face of the earth again for us.
I thought about looking it up, but I don't want that in my algorithm, so I just chose not to.
That's fair. In a Violent Nature is nominated again. Not the first movie to be told from a killer's perspective, but still, I think, very uniquely done, and maybe one of the best of the kind.
Yeah.
If you like this kind of thing, but you don't mind a lower quality 2006 version, Behind the Mask, the rise of Leslie Vernon is a movie that I tell people about all the time. Very underrated. And then Late Night with the Devil was a huge one this year.
That was a
very
big one.
Yeah, very unique and interesting, I think, in the way that it told its story of through a live broadcast that falls apart. I think it was really interesting and good. I liked it a lot.
Sasquatch Sunset.
Big fan of Sasquatch Sunset over there?
I haven't watched it yet. I'm not going to lie. I want to watch it because I can't believe they made it.
That's the best kind of movie.
First time I saw the trailer for it, all I kept thinking was like, this has to be a Mountain Dew commercial. This has to be like a random commercial. There's no way this is real, but it's an actual movie about Bigfoot.
Starring Jesse
Eisenberg.
Academy Award nominated movie, Jesse Eisenberg.
Yeah, because when you think Bigfoot, you think Jesse Eisenberg.
Yeah. When I think of Bigfoot, I think of the Sam Elliott movie, The Man Who Killed... Wait, what is it? It's a really long title. The Man Who Killed Hitler and Then the Bigfoot or something like that. It's longer than
See,
that.
I always think Harry and the Hendersons, but that's just me.
Well, you would. And then Azrael, which... Azrael, which I know that we both loved, you're not, but also kind of been surprised that we haven't seen Samara Weaving in much.
Yeah.
She was in Azrael, which was a really interesting and really cool movie about society that decides to stop talking because the rapture happened and now they're afraid of monsters or something. Very cool, very unique, and I think she does an amazing job in it. So Azrael's very cool. Anything you want to say about
I didn't get around to watching probably the majority of these, which I feel bad about, but they're all on my list to get watched.
Well, they are refreshingly unique, so
yeah,
you should find them in the future.
Which is why I wanted to watch them. Except for that Robbie Williams movie, I just can't bring myself to care to watch that. No offense to him, but I just don't care.
As somebody that I hate music biopics.
I know you do.
I have negative interest in any of it. Doesn't matter if it's Queen, doesn't matter if it's Michael Jackson, doesn't matter if it's Elton John, doesn't matter if it's the one that Timothée Chalamet just did. Bob Dylan. I'm remembering names at the moment that I think that I should start thinking about the name is a really hard thing for me, if you didn't notice. I don't care about any of them. But for some reason, just the unique, or whether it's a gimmick or not, the plot device to say
he's a
this
monkey.
Man is presenting himself as a monkey is interesting to me, and I'm like, I might watch that someday.
See, and
I'm
I'm
not
the
gonna run out to
opposite.
watch it.
I like music biopics, and I don't know. It feels just a forced gimmick about a musician that I have no knowledge of or care about. So,
all right,
yeah,
fair enough.
No offense to fans of Robbie Williams, but there is one movie that, holy cow,
You don't hold yourself back from gushing over it. I'm
it's
sure.
seriously, this movie, amazing. Just
Yeah.
I was.
What about it grabbed you so much?
It was like watching Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
All over again. The gags, the stupid slapstick humor that is just rampant in this movie. It blew me away. It's basically a silent film. Like, this movie made me feel that joy of, and you and I have talked about this kind of comedy from like the 80s and 90s where it's just unhinged. It doesn't care how dumb it is. Just lean into it as heavy as possible. And this movie does it in a way that I thought was dead. I was like, there's no way people are going to bring this back. But it was like a combination of everything amazing about the Three Stooges, everything amazing about Looney Tunes, everything amazing about like Charlie Chaplin, like his comedy films, the silent era, all of it. And then like Naked Gun style humor in it, just all the gross gags that are perfect. There is nothing in this movie that was not enjoyable. Couldn't believe it. I almost just hit play to rewatch it immediately after it ended, but I had to go to bed because, you know, I work early in the morning.
Yeah,
But-
sure. Yeah, I totally agree. I think it was unique and incredible. And I think that, so it didn't win the fan vote. This is one of the ones we deviated on. Late Night with the Devil did, which I don't fault you at all for. That one was amazing. And it also didn't win. It was, second was In a Violent Nature, tied with Better Man. Beaver's tied with Stop Motion and Spaceman, strangely enough, for like fifth. So we bumped it way up there, but I think part of that is people didn't see it or get around to it or know anything about it. And so I hope that you do, and I think it is the most unique of the year.
It just... It was one where I was like... Because I kept seeing it get popped up, and I was like, what the heck is this? Finally sat around to watch it, and it made a strong play for one of the better movies of 2024 for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're just slightly over halfway through. We did this last year, though, and I wanted to bring it back. There were some categories that we couldn't flesh out enough or get made into real categories, but I still wanted to make the jokes of what the category was. So run through those right quick. Blue Collar Hero. So there was at least 2 movies this year where the hero is just a regular Joe. And you know, at Movie Bonerz, we love average
We
Joes.
like our average Joes.
And so, of course, talking about the beekeeper and the bricklayer.
I saw neither of these.
I didn't either, but the beekeeper looked cool. And I think Jason Statham is the GOAT, considering he also made The Mechanic, which is a blue-collar job, The Transporter, and I think this month he has a movie coming out called The Working Man.
I don't think you can count The Transporter as a blue-collar...
He's a guy that drives a car.
For mob bosses.
But that's just the thing. Like, the beekeeper isn't actually a
crime
beekeeper.
Bosses.
If you see Beekeeper, which I know you haven't, but if you watch the trailer, you would know. It's not an actual beekeeper. He like works for the CIA.
Well,
under
I
some
assume that considering
secret
it's
program.
Jason Statham. So
The point is transporting stuff, average job.
So,
all right, thanks for ruining my category. Also, there's an insane amount of monkeys this year. I don't know if you know that. Wicked had a monkey. Kung Fu Panda 4 had a monkey. Monkey Man had a monkey.
There's that
kind of.
stupid monkey from Gladiator. Why?
Mufasa the Lion King movie had a monkey. Gladiator 2 had a handful of monkeys. Not only the ones in the arena, but the ones on the shoulder of the Emperor dudes. Planet of the Apes had a handful of monkeys in it. Better Man had a monkey, as we've already established. Godzilla Kong obviously had the biggest monkey, probably.
Yeah.
So, yeah, lots of monkeys.
It's a lot of
going on there.
monkeys.
You know, it's funny. I think that in the future, if anybody remembers that Better Man came out, people will confuse Better Man and Monkey Man as the other movie. That when they think of Better Man, they'll be saying Monkey Man.
Oh my gosh, I think
and
that's
vice
going to
versa.
happen. Yep.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yep.
And then this category, which I thought early on tried to make work because I was like, isn't it weird that Glenn Powell did the one with Sydney Sweeney, whatever that movie was called? Anyone But You.
Thank you.
Twisters and
Hitman.
all in 1 year. I was like, he's promoting them all. That's crazy. It's a huge year. Turns out he was not at the top of the people that put out the most movies in a single year. All of these people put out 4 movies this year.
Really?
So Fred Heckinger did Thelma, Nickel Boys, Gladiator 2, and Craven the Hunter. Willem Dafoe did Beetlejuice 2, Saturday Night, Nosferatu, and Kinds of Kindness.
Oh, okay.
J.K. Simmons did The Union, Saturday Night, Juror Number 2, and Red 1. Nicholas Hoult did Juror Number 2, The Order, Nosferatu, and Garfield. And then Dave Bautista did Dune 2, My Spy, The Killer's Game, and The Last Showman.
Oh my God.
It is hard to remember because we didn't see most of those movies.
Right.
But
we really kind of...
I know you're a big Garfield fan.
Yes.
So, yeah, lots of people doing movies. And then making its return from last year. I know you love this category. I had to bring it back. The Kirk Lazarus Outstanding Achievement in Excellence Award. 5-time Academy Award winner Kirk Lazarus. In his memory, we commend this award. And it's important to remember his last words. Never go full retard. And the person or the group of people this year that should have taken that to heart the most is Amelia Perez.
There it is.
Because
everyone involved.
Yeah. And I think the Academy for nominating it 13 times is just a simple jack move on their part.
Yeah.
So.
Wow.
Anyway, back to the normal proceedings. Most worthwhile theater experience returning from last year. So this is presented by our new friends, Joe Velasquez from the Film Joe podcast. And they will be talking about all the movies that came out in the theaters that were the best.
Ladies and gentlemen, making his first appearance on the Movie Bonerz Awards is Joe of the Film Joe podcast. All right, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It is an honor to be here. Thank you. So, what is a great movie theater experience? Is it a fun and exciting film, or a massive IMAX screen that you're watching it on? Or could it be that you're watching it in 4DX or Dolby with an enthusiastic crowd hooting and hollering and yelling and laughing at every turn? Or how about this? Could it be all of the above? A combination that creates and enhances the movie-going experience. So, without any further delay, here are the nominations for Most Worthwhile Theater Experience. The Fall Guy. Ryan Gosling, why not, right? Dune, Part 2, some cool giant worms, lots of sand. I hate sand. Terrifier 3, a fun clown visiting for Christmas. Can't lose there, right? Deadpool and Wolverine. By the way, I'm still trying to get that popcorn bucket. Twisters. Glenn Powell. He's no Bill Paxton, but he did a pretty fine job in my opinion. And finally, Alien Romulus. Face huggers run amok. Why not? So that's the nominations for Most Worthwhile Theater Experience. So I just want to take this opportunity to thank the guys over at Movie Bonerz for the honor Thank you so much. So let's find out who takes home the gold tonight.
Well,
I have to give Joe hyper props for throwing in what is infamously one of the stupidest lines ever spoken in a film of "I hate sand." Props to you, sir. Props.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, so there's the guys. I think they all, were fun in the theaters mostly.
I only didn't see one of these in the theater, and it's one that I wish I would have seen in the theater.
Which one's that?
Twisters. I can't believe I
Yeah.
didn't see that in the theater.
Yeah, that would have been pretty amazing.
But this was like, those movies, whether you liked it or not, were made for the big screen. They really were.
And I think Terrifier 3 was the most amazing one, being put out unrated in theaters, and then also having bigger box office than Joker 2 at the same time.
And that
was
one, I mean,
hilarious.
the experience of watching that in the theater was highly memorable. Just watching the level of gore and practical effects, and just knowing people watching it were struggling to even look at the screen, because there are so many moments in that movie where you're like, it can't get worse. And it's like they don't just double down on it. They just go all in with, oh yeah, watch this. And yeah, Dune, I mean, the spectacle of that movie, the scope of it is pretty huge.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah. Yeah. I completely agree. I think that, so there was one winner. Well, sort of. I'll talk to you about that in a second. But you felt strongly that Deadpool and Wolverine should win.
I did.
And I want to hear why.
Because it had been a while since I sat in a theater that was that expressive about how fun they were having and felt good watching. The theater was packed, and everyone in that place was... It's been a while since I've sat in a room that was having that much fun watching a movie collectively. And it was really cool to be in that experience again. You know me, Jake. I want the feeling of when we were growing up going to the theater, where everyone in the theater is invested in the story and invested in whatever movie we're watching, where it's packed, it's busy, it's chaotic. No one cares about being on their phones. No one cares about all this other stuff around them, the distractions. It's solely the movie. I got that experience with Deadpool and Wolverine. It was a fan service movie. It didn't try to do anything other than be a love letter to old school Marvel movies from like early 2000s. And it gave the fans what people have been wanting from Fox and from Marvel for 25 years. So it just, the fact that it knew what it was, and the audiences responded exactly how they were hoping. To me, it took the cake, just based on the pure enjoyment of the theater. So,
okay.
Yeah.
I thought it would be because if you didn't see it in the theater the week it came out, everything about the movie is going to be ruined for you.
No, I mean, going into it without having spoilers definitely added to the enjoyment of it. It was a shame getting home, 20 minutes after the movie was released, and, oh, look, everyone posted everything that you see in it. Like, that kind of sucked. But no, just the enjoyment of it. That's what really struck me, was just the pure enjoyment. That's why I wish I would have seen Twisters in the theater, because I think had I seen Twisters in the theater, that probably would have taken the cake for me.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I see that as well. For me, I wanted Dune 2 to win, and I thought there was a strong argument to be able to say, not only was it an incredibly visual movie, and the whole overall experience of the movie in the theater was huge. Last year, Oppenheimer won because it was a full IMAX movie, and it's a spectacle, and you had to see it in IMAX on the biggest screen possible, which everybody says you should do, but rarely is that actually the case. It was the case with Oppenheimer. And I think it was the case with Dune too, because it was so heavily IMAX
Yeah.
focused, which is to the point that you can't even see the movie that was released now, because the streaming cuts, the physical versions of it are all cropped.
Yeah, it
and
has to be
so
compact.
the actual frames that you saw in the theater, if you saw them in the theater, you're not going to see again unless
Mhm.
they ever re-release it in the future. So it's such a unique experience that you kind of have to see it in the theater if you're
Yeah.
ever going to experience it. And if you don't, it just the home experience is secondary, and that's a very unique and I think important distinction for Dune 2.
Mm-hmm. I get that. And you and I talked about that a little bit, which maybe we'll save parts of that conversation a little bit later.
So you're saying I didn't convince you that it should win?
No.
Dune 2. Okay.
I don't know. How did people vote?
Well, this is awkward because I was hoping I could convince you and then Dune 2 would actually win. People voted heavily for Dune 2, but Deadpool and Wolverine was second.
And I get that Dune is going to take that because it was so big.
Mm-hmm.
I can't agree with that decision because all the conversations after seeing Dune Part 2, some of which even you and I had, were, yeah, it was huge and awesome, but I think the first one was done better.
Mm-hmm.
And Dune 2 just wasn't nearly as memorable to me. Yeah. But
Well,
I totally, like, it makes sense that people would vote for it, and that's not wrong at all.
Yeah. All right, and then we got Best Overall Character,
Mm-hmm.
which is presented by our friend J.R. Stokes, who we've had on the show twice. He's also nominated this for the Best Guest Award because we interviewed him last year for the his short film Headstone Solitude, and then also this last year, I guess, also last year. It's hard when you go into the new year and then you start thinking of this year as the last year, but you know what I mean.
Right.
He also had a new film, Edge X, which is phenomenal. You got to interview him for that. I did not make it because I had a baby, but here he is presenting the best characters of the year.
Hey, Movie Bonerz fans. I am proud to be announcing this year's nominees for Best Character for the year of 2024. This year's nominees are Longlegs from the summer hit Longlegs, Proximus Caesar from Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, Dementus from Furiosa, Count Orlok from Nosferatu, Gambit from Deadpool and Wolverine, Militiaman from Civil War, and Monstro Eliasu from The Substance.
Overall, I feel like great characters, a lot of very memorable characters from this year. And I wanted to highlight, separate from just acting, all of the things that go into making a character, like the costuming, the makeup, the writing of the character, the lines that they give him, and some of them were very memeable as well. Like Militiaman from Civil War has such a small part, but Jesse Plemons was so immediately everybody grabbed onto that guy as what this movie was going to be remembered for, which is amazing. And same with Gambit. I feel like everybody's talked about Channing Tatum as Gambit as like a fan casting forever, so it seemed like an easy thing to add him
it was
in.
supposed to be a thing. He had, like, they had a whole movie written and ready and being cast, and then Fox was like, no. Fox is dumb.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, chickened out. And then so to finally get him was fulfilling and fun, and he also totally sold it with the Cajun accent and everything. Fully invested, which is so fun. And Dr. Dementis, I think we talked about at the beginning of the year, his transformation, Chris Hemsworth's transformation with the prosthetics and everything, you just don't even see him on screen. And also to play a villain when he's been such a babyface actor is such a fun thing.
Proximus Caesar was one that I know going into Kingdom, for me at least, I was very much like, that's going to be the character that either makes it or he's going to ruin the whole movie. Like, he's either going to be such a great villain, or I'm just going to hate everything about it. And he's an incredible character. Awesome character.
Yeah. We've been fans of Kevin Durant for a long time.
Yeah. Count Orlok in Nosferatu. I mean, it's Bill Skarsgård doing what he does. Yeah, he's super gross. He's very unique, which was a thing that took me off guard, was just how different he was from the Count Orlok that I'm used to. But he definitely gives it his own spin. You don't even see Bill Skarsgård under the makeup. He's unrecognizable, which is pretty crazy. And then Nicolas Cage with this like patient resurgence into mainstream. As I'm kind of looking at it, he's had like one or two big theatrical films a year the past few, and then a bunch of his usual straight to stream. But Longlegs was, whether you like the movie or not, I think he stands out pretty heavily in that film.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
The Monstro from The Substance.
You're not even going to try that second
No,
one?
I don't care.
Eliza Sue?
Eliza Sue. It was gross. It was kind of funny, which I think took me a little bit out of the movie, honestly, where I was like, all right.
Not as serious or sincere.
Yeah. Oh, the moment, not to spoil stuff, but the moment the blood spraying started happening,
yeah,
I was laughing pretty hard. So I don't know if I was supposed to or not, but I did.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's what's that called? Like, not a parody, but like a farce aspect to it, where it's satire in a way, I guess.
Yeah. But very memorable characters. There is one that I think you and I both agree was just like, yeah.
I think he had the total package. So I feel like Dr. Dementis from Furiosa not only had the militiaman thing where he stood out and was memorable, and you grabbed onto him as like, yes, it's Furiosa's movie, but we know Furiosa. We are excited about like hearing her backstory and all that stuff. We want something new. What's the new thing going to be? And it's this. It's Dr. Dementis. And not only is he just an interesting looking, different kind of dude, but he also has the depth and character and complexity. There were so many times where I was like, he's going to help her. He's the good guy. He's better than Immortan Joe. And then there were times I was like, why are you suddenly worse than Immortan Joe? Immortan Joe is the worst person on the planet, and now I'm liking, like, you're worse. You're a bad guy. Worse than him. That's weird.
And for me, in terms of like the acting, this felt like Chris Hemsworth was having the most fun acting that I think I've ever seen him in or have. Like, his time as Thor, he's always got to play kind of brooding, even when they're trying to play him off as the doofus. All of his other action movies, like, he's always pretty serious character. I think his one turn in real comedy was the all-female Ghostbusters, where he just was kind of
a hard intro.
Yeah, and I find myself thinking that he was just directed to overplay the stupidity of his character, but him as Dr. Dementis, it was like he tapped into something that was needing to come out, and what a joy to watch. What an absolute joy. So he's definitely the most memorable part of the movie for me.
Yeah.
The movie's awesome, but he really stamps the film, so.
Yeah, checks all the boxes.
Yeah.
And fans agreed he won the poll with Longlegs and Monstro Elisu taking second. All right, so then on the backs of that, best acting overall. And this is more traditional than like all the traditional acting you think of. But we didn't want actors get enough credit, I think. So we don't have the split up between best lead female, best lead male,
Just
best lead supporting, all this stuff. Just who acted the best, who made us invested the most. That's all we really care about.
Yep.
And presented by The Tank, one of our huge supporters who we love dearly, always sharing our stuff, always liking our stuff. Cool dude with a cool podcast, the Truth Tank podcast from Australia. Check it out. He had some technical difficulties, so he had to pivot slightly and presented this short film, silent film, because it couldn't get the audio to work. But it's also very unique in that it is very artistic, I guess you could say.
All right.
And because there's no talking, I guess we could talk over it.
That way it's not awkward for the people that are only listening.
That's true. If you are only listening and not watching the video,
this would be
he's
really
talking about
weird for you.
It would be very weird. You will know when it kicks in because Dustin will laugh. Get ready for it.
Now I'm anticipating.
You should be.
Oh gosh. Best acting. What is that?
These are
Yes.
all hand-drawn.
Hand-drawn. Yeah.
Yes. Original works of art of the characters that these actors are playing.
I dig it. I dig it. That's fantastic.
I will tell you who they are after Justin, after we get through it.
Oh my gosh. Artwork is freaking hilarious.
There you are.
That final drawing is...
So we've got Kieran Culkin from Real Pain, which everybody, well, it did not everybody, it did get nominated, but in a supporting role, which is so odd to me because he's clearly not supporting.
He's
in
kind
that
of the
movie.
main character of the movie, I felt.
Yeah. Yeah. The movie opens and finishes on him and his face. And
yeah.
He has the most arc, learning and growing and all that stuff. So huge deal there. Nell Tiger Free, First Omen. You don't often see horror actresses nominated, but you should because they often kill it in their chaos and
They're kind of
screaming
put
and
through the
emotions
ringer a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So
fully invested and fully insane. And she, like we said, amazing lead for the First Omen. Cillian Murphy, which is kind of strange. Not a lot of people have talked about small things like these. Great movie. Looks overall, it's really, really good. But it's weird to me that the most talked about, biggest winner of last year for Oppenheimer has this great movie drama come out that
no one talks about.
No one's talking about, and nobody probably normal people aren't talking about that exists. And so it does exist. It's really good. You should check it out. Demi Moore, The Substance. A lot of people want me to win. A lot of people want her to win the Oscar, and think it's ironic, which I agree it is accurate that she didn't. She lost to a younger actress who had a lot of nude scenes in her sex worker Nora movie. So that is the plot of The Substance, basically. Katie O'Brien, which is, if you remember last year, which I don't. What's the name of that guy that won last year that we gave the award to, who was in the Iron Claw? Zac Efron.
Zac
Thank
Efron.
you. For nothing. You left me hanging out to dry there.
You didn't even give me a chance to jump in. You were just...
How did you not know it was inside my head?
You're just rambling on over there.
I am. Zac Efron, he won last year because he not only had a great acting performance, but also got jacked, learned wrestling, and did all of these other things that most people don't go do in a role, which was huge. So Katie O'Brien for Love Lies Bleeding was in the same category where she got jacked, learned all of the bodybuilding techniques and poses and all that stuff. Not easy to do, so very impressive. Corey Michael Smith, Saturday Night as Chevy Chase, which flawless Chevy Chase.
Flawless.
Which is a hard thing to step into and do because he's such a big personality.
Yeah.
Unique. That's very recognizable. Ralph Fiennes for Conclave, maybe the second most mainstream pick on this list. We have some weird ones, but Ralph Fiennes is not weird. He's a pretty obvious and clear.
He's a
great
powerhouse in that movie. He really is.
Yeah, fully carries it. And then Hugh Grant for Heretic, who, again, horror movie that isn't as commonly known, but Hugh Grant appealed initially to me as an actor who's not known for doing not only not known for doing horror roles, but not known for being unlikable or menacing or anything that you would have to be in this.
Yeah, as subtly malicious, like as subtle and malicious that his character actually is, you don't really see coming from Hugh Grant, you know, the dude that did his whole career has been rom-com and a couple dramas. So yeah, his turn in this was pretty unique.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think he stood out also for that reason. And that might be why he won.
He won.
Which, very controversial. So we're going to get flack for Demi Moore not winning. She was the fan favorite. Kieran Culkin was second, which is also understandable. Did not win. Hugh Grant and Cillian Murphy were third on the list, but we felt Hugh Grant had to be moved up. Mostly you. You did.
I did.
When we went through and like 1, 2, 3, 4, we just kind of marked them. I had him at 3.
You did.
But then when you said 1, I did not protest. I was like, yeah, I'm fine with that. I'm totally fine with him winning this.
Yeah.
Why did you have him at 1?
For exactly what we just said. I went into it having heard that he really carries that movie and that he's a pretty daunting character in it. So I was really excited to see him play this role, and everything about it was so good. I actually found myself, though, as disturbing as his character becomes and as horrible as he becomes, not necessarily in the way that some people might think, which is probably the best part.
Right.
But the most unnerving acting that he did was the most realistic, where I found myself thinking, that didn't feel like acting. Like, this felt normal. And it was actually at the beginning, their initial conversation in the living room, just the little reactions that he has to them, it felt so natural to me that I was like, this feels, I think this is, you know, you brought up Oppenheimer. I think this is his Oppenheimer role. Like, this is terrifying to watch. And then it just progressively gets more menacing. And then after you and I talked about the movie as a movie, I really thought hard on everything you said about it. And that also made me just be like, how is he not getting more recognition for this role? Because he took, it's a pretty complex character that seems very surface. But when I thought of like your points on it, that's really what sold me. I was like, his acting became so flawless and it felt so natural. I didn't feel like I was watching Hugh Grant, even though they don't load him with a lot of makeup to try and hide Hugh Grant. I didn't ever feel like, oh, it's Hugh Grant.
Right.
So he took it for me on that. I'll take the flack for this one. I think because I don't think I had Kieran Culkin very high. I think I had him at Okay.
You didn't have Demi Moore very high either.
Yeah, I'm gonna get flack for this. One, I didn't like The Substance. Spoiler alert. I did not care for that movie. I thought it was just a giant ripoff of Darren Aronofsky's films, of Stanley Kubrick's films, and blatantly a ripoff. So I'm kind of shocked that it's even being celebrated. But that's for another conversation. Demi Moore's not bad in it. She's good.
Yeah.
But it just wasn't striking to me.
I think that Demi Moore was great in it, but I think that the way the movie was structured and what it chose to focus on, I wish that it had focused on her more, because she had a couple of moments where, like particularly getting ready for the date and not being able to fix herself up enough to go out, that scene stands out with me, but not the whole movie, not the whole character.
Yeah, I think the movie would have been stronger had they actually focused on Demi Moore's character and not the young version, and then turning it to be this gross just parody of it all. Anyways, And then for Kieran Culkin, he's awesome. Don't get me wrong. Fantastic. I felt like he wasn't acting at all in that movie. I felt like he was just being him. And that was why I kind of voted him down, because I was like, this feels like this is exactly how every conversation and interaction with this guy probably is.
Yeah, I mean, you watch interviews with him and Jesse Eisenberg, and it's the two characters
It's
that
the
they play
characters.
talking to each other. So you're not wrong, and I don't disagree. But I also think that criticism, I've thought about that a lot, and I think that criticism is kind of surface in the sense that his mannerisms and his inflection and everything, he doesn't change a lot. Like if you watch Succession, it's very much Succession. It's the same thing.
Okay.
He's weird and quick and eccentric and smart and witty and funny and all these things. But there's also a lot of things about that character that are not him. He's not lonely. He has kids. He has a wife. He has all of these things. So he finds things in himself that he has to change in order to be that character. I guess, still.
I will say that criticism from my side of things in no way is actually meant to like take away from it. That sounds dumb. He's great. I think the strongest moment of acting in A Real Pain is actually the opening and final shots of him.
Yeah.
I think the quiet, just what he does with the facial expression, the body language, I think those are the two strongest moments for me personally in that film from him. Those are the more like moving moments for me. When I watched A Real Pain, the opening shot of him sitting in the airport, I instantly was like, I need to know his story.
Yeah. Who's this guy?
I wanted to know more of him. And I felt that way at the end of like, I really need to know this character. Like everything else in the movie, cool. It was a good movie.
Yeah, you left it feeling like I got some understanding of who he is, but there's still a lot more.
But I
He's
want to
still
know
complex.
more about him.
Yeah.
So there's that. I don't know. It was the same thing like when I watched, Jesse Eisenberg. Like, I'm a fan of a lot of his work, but he's the same dude. Except for, so both of these guys give very powerhouse performances. It's funny to say that. So Eisenberg, when he was Mark Zuckerberg in The Social Network, that's his best role. That is a fantastic role.
You haven't seen Sasquatch Sunset yet.
I have not. So maybe him as Bigfoot is going to change, but he does an exceptional job in Social Network. It's the strongest piece of acting because you actually believe that he's like tuned off from the world. And then Kieran Culkin, I just rewatched Scott Pilgrim. He has a minor supporting role, but his timing with the comedy in that role is so well done that I'm like, that's what I was hoping for. I think more in his performance in A Real Pain was like, use that timing, use that kind of brilliance that I know is there. It has to be there. Use that in this. So don't take it as like, oh, Dustin hates Kieran Culkin. No, when I look at Hugh Grant and Heretic, I'm like, I don't see Hugh Grant. I actually see this villain. I actually feel in danger.
That's a big deal.
It's
a big deal. Big deal for me as well. And that was a big reason why I didn't disagree, because you go into it thinking, I'm going to watch Hugh Grant in this movie. And then before, not very long into it, you're like, this is someone else entirely.
Yeah.
This is not the Hugh Grant I'm familiar with at all. And just your concept of who Hugh Grant is completely gone. You stop even thinking about it because you're so engrossed in this guy. And you alluded to what I had told you that kind of changed your mind on some aspects of the movie. And you had very valid criticisms of that. This character is kind of meh. He's just, you've heard these arguments from this super intellectual guy about all of the world's religions and how they're all of these different things before, and there's nothing new there. And people will latch onto it being like, he's an intellectual, he's saying things that I couldn't put the words together, so I will latch onto it and say, yeah, that guy said it, that's what I believe, and that's a good thing. People need to remember he's the villain in this movie. Like, he's a bad guy, and the things he's doing are not for a good reason, and the things that he's doing are not good things. And so maybe zoom out a little bit and remember that there's more to the story there, I think.
Yeah. You had very good
really
points,
smart.
and I'm very thankful that you and I had a quick little chat about it afterwards, because I still think the movie as a movie was still kind of like, all right. But Hugh Grant, I'm very much like, he's the guy.
Yeah. It's such a brilliant idea to have somebody who's so charismatic and likable and rom-com-y in a horror role. I'm surprised it doesn't happen more often. The only other one I can think of is Zac Efron in When He Was Ted Bundy.
Oh, yeah.
That seems like a great idea, but also I don't want them to overdo it. So It's nice that it happened this one unique time.
Every now and again. All right.
Yeah. All right. That was a long one.
That
but
was.
Also needed to be defended. We will get shit for it. Best cinematography. This is such a fun one too. So I don't know, I think have heard of critic lists. You should have if you haven't by now, because we are always talking about how terrible Rotten Tomatoes is and how terrible, especially the critics on Rotten Tomatoes are. What if there was a website where it was just fans and they genuinely rate things and review things, and it's kind of like a whole community, and you can get a good idea of finding new movies that you like and things that are related to it? That's what Critic List is. It's just an app. It's not a podcaster, or I think they do a podcast, but I reached out to them because I thought their site was so cool.
Yeah.
And also they're movie related, and it's also very different. We're not doing like a filmmaker or a friend of the show or anything like that. And Blaine actually agreed. So we have the CEO of criticlist.com to present Best Cinematography.
Mr. Andrews, we had something come in for you.
What is it, Karen? I'm sick of your shenanigans.
You might actually want to see this one. You've been requested as a presenter on an award show.
An award show? Really? So they finally decided to acknowledge my contributions to the entertainment industry? What's it for? Like, is this for the Emmys?
No.
Oscars?
No.
Oh, God. All right. Academy Awards?
No.
Okay, I got it. It's got to be for the Critic Choice Awards with the whole like Criticless thing and how I talk shit about those guys all the time, but they've probably gotten over it. And now, like, you know, whatever. So it's probably them, right?
Nope.
Who's it for then?
It's the Movie Bonerz Awards.
The what?
The Movie Bonerz Awards.
Boners, like with a Z and like a one of those.
Penis.
Fuck!
Well, hello there, folks. It's me, Blaine Andrews here, CEO and Lord Emperor of Criticlist.com. Find us in Android and Apple app stores today. But I'm sure that most of you are wondering why I've gathered you here today. And supposedly I have been invited to a some type of French awards ceremony. The Movie Bonerz. Yes, the Movie Bonerz Awards, because clearly it couldn't have anything to do with dick jokes. And what they wanted me to talk to you about today is best cinematography, because if anyone were to know anything about quality cinematography, it'd be me.
Have you guys seen Pacific Rim, like in the app? What's going on with that? Listen, it is our highest rated movie of all time. Now, listen, it's at 100. It's almost at 100%. I mean, I personally think it's the greatest movie of all time, and it deserves a 100.
Sorry, got distracted for a moment. There's an interesting collection of films that have been nominated by these Bonerz folks, and some of which are quite interesting, quite enthralling, one might say. And then some are movies that I bet that no one has seen. The nominations for Best Cinematography are Dune 2.
Nothing fancy.
A movie so dry that even the sandworms were begging for a spit take. Next up, Strange Darling.
Here, kitty, kitty, kitty.
We have a movie that is so twisted, even the serial killer's handcuffs couldn't keep up with the plot's kinks. You get it? See what I did there? The Brutalist.
Tell me, why is an accomplished foreign architect shoveling coal here in Philadelphia?
It's so long and punishing, even the concrete buildings begged for a safe word. that joke was because the movie's 3.5 hours long. I don't even know that anybody cares about cinematography with their eyes closed. All right, now this is one that I saw twice in theaters. I don't even do that. Granted, it was because I had to go see it a second time, but doesn't matter. Monkey Man, directed by Dev Patel.
I call her Nikki. Minaj, big bumper, nice headlights. Let's boogie.
It's so unhinged, it's like a monkey god got drunk, hooked up with Fight Club, and left bruises as a tip. Karen, I need a water. Nosferatu.
He never pleased me as he could.
It's so creepy, even the vampire's fangs got hard watching Lily Rose Depp stripped down to become bat turd prey. Battered prey. It was a bat joke. I tried to fit in a bat joke while also talking about Lily Rose Depp's boobs. Oh, this next one is definitely one of my favorites of the bunch. We have Longlegs. A film that was so unsettling, Nick Cage's prosthetics got a boner from all the devilish doll action. Mommy! God, I think I said this before, but who? Seriously, guys. The Settlers? What even is this? What is this movie? Hold on. All right, well, I guess I know what The Settlers is. It's apparently so grim, even the sheep were lining up for a quickie with the Settlers just to get out of Patagonia alive. And last but not least, a film that not a whole lot of people saw, I'm pretty sure. I didn't watch it. Did you guys watch it? Did you guys watch this? Whatever, it's best cinematography. It's just got to look good. No one cares. It's The Nickel Boys.
Woo! That's it, Hal. You're doing great.
It was so dark, even the reform school's beatings left the kid wishing that they'd gotten a spanking from their grandma instead. Well, folks, this has been riveting. I hope you enjoyed your nominations for Best Cinematography, brought to you by Criticalist.com. Just in case anyone was wondering, Pacific Rim, the first, not the first Pacific Rim, nomination and winner of every single best cinematography, best film ever. It's the best. It wins. So whatever they tell you after I'm done speaking, the answer is Pacific Rim. There you go, boner boys. Later.
That was great.
Right?
I
didn't. Good.
Wow. I'm stuck on him playing with figures while presenting. I'm kind of jealous that I haven't thought of doing that before. So
yeah.
All right.
I guess some Pacific Rim figures.
Yeah.
I didn't realize The Settlers was also a directorial debut from Felipe Galvez. But very cool movie if you're into like a darker side of Westerns, I think. And also visually beautiful.
So I kind of have to side with him. I didn't even know this movie existed until you sent me the nomination list, and I was like, what the heck is this? I still have no clue what Nickel Boys is about. It's another movie that I'm like, I bet this is one that people are going to forget got made.
It's about two dudes that go to prison, famous prison, and it's filmed in kind of like a first-person point of view perspective.
Okay.
Which some people like and some people don't like, but it is different and unique.
Okay.
And then Strange Darling, a lot of people may or may not have seen, but it's also visually interesting and also story-wise very interesting. But the most interesting thing to me is finding out that Giovanni Ribisi was the cinematographer for it.
What?
You know Giovanni Ribisi?
Yeah.
I didn't know if a lot of people would. So if you know Wade the medic from Saving Private Ryan or Phoebe's brother from Friends, that guy, the actor, apparently is a cinematographer, it's always interesting when like an actor wants to be a director. Like that's a very common thing.
Yeah.
For an actor to say, I really want to be a cinematographer. I don't know which came first though, because I just found this out, but I think that's super interesting.
This is I'm looking it up because I had to.
Okay.
This is his first like feature length cinematography.
Okay. That's so cool.
That's really
He
cool.
did a very, very good job with it. It's really good.
All right.
And then the real list apparently is very visually nice, but if you like architecture focused cinematography like it has, but want a much shorter, more accessible film, just watch Columbus from 2017. It's way more enjoyable and accessible, I think.
Yeah. I mean, what can you say about Monkey Man? He was right. It's pretty unhinged. I like how he worded that Fight Club meets like a monkey deity.
Mm-hmm.
It was the way that it was shot through that part of India. Really cool. Just making you put, like, you were in the city, you were in the fights, you were in all of every aspect of that journey. You are right in. Awesome. Longlegs is unsettling. The cinematography in that movie is unsettling, which it needed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nosferatu was surprising to me because, you know, I said it earlier, just it's a gothic film. You go into it expecting gothic movies to be like, oh, it's just going to be dark the whole time. It is. But it creates such a weird sense of dread from the beginning. Every shot of it, you're just like, this just feels like I feel in danger the whole time. And there is one shot in the movie that to me was like, yeah, this shot should go down as like, this is a masterful shot. And it's such a simple one, but the way it's lit, the way that it's all of it is it's done so well that you instantly put yourself in the Nicholas Holt's character's shoes of just, this doesn't turn out well.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, Nosferatu just blew me away on that one.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the only other one on there, Greg Fraser, Doom Part 2, did not win.
Did not win.
Did not win. That was a little misdirection because we generally have been avoiding saying the one that wins, and I feel like that maybe we shouldn't do that because we'll keep you on your toes.
Right.
It did win the fan vote, though, so we have to defend it a little bit.
And that's fair. At the fan vote, completely understandable. I think my argument for Nosferatu was, do you see that shot in the bottom left right there of him standing?
Crossroads.
Yeah, that's the shot. When
Okay.
that plays,
I'm glad I found it.
When that plays in the movie, it is such an overwhelming sense of dread and doom. And he's literally walking down the road. It didn't just put me in London. It didn't just put me in Transylvania. You know, this felt like experiencing a sense of true hopelessness and true like godlessness. Whereas Dune was, and it's like done practically. Whereas Dune is, for those huge epic shots, is primarily CGI. And so I just felt like the realism of Nosferatu and what it achieved like inside of me, that's why I had to go for Nosferatu over it.
Yeah, and I completely agree with that. I think being able to create something that's so perfect visually when you can't control all of the other outside elements, when you're out in weather, when you're doing things at night, when you're only using candlelight and things like that, it's a different level of expertise to make it turn out that way. And I think it shows that it was just masterfully done.
Yeah. So it just, nothing against
had to go
Dune,
with Nosferatu.
but
yeah. All right. So one of the big awards, there's a handful of big awards. We're coming up towards the end of it. But before we get to director and movie and all that stuff, the best podcast guest of the year. And this award is presented by you boys.
Woohoo!
Movie Bonerz Podcast. That's us. You already knew that because you're here. So we had 5 guests on this last year. J.R. Stokes from EdgeX, who, like I said, he's the only person who's been on the show twice because we did that little interview with his short film, and then you interviewed him last year for Edge X, his first feature-length film. We also interviewed Jonathan Salemi from The Last Deal, his feature-length film, which was incredible. Very cool interview if you want to listen to the guerrilla filmmaker talking about making things without permits and underground and all this stuff. Very cool. And then Martin from the Film versus Film podcast talking about all of his love for Alien and the Alien Romulus prequels. We broke it down. That was actually jumped to our most listened to episode of all time, of all 4 years that we've been doing this. So big draw, I guess, Martin had. And then Liz in a Movie, our first ever full guest on an episode. Like I mentioned, that was so much fun talking about fan theories. And then CJ Goodwin for his movie that had not come out yet. It's being released right now all over the place. Lots of premieres happening in Texas primarily. Sherlock Holmes, Mayor of the Night, which I'm excited to see once it gets more widely available.
Yeah.
That was a very cool interview that he did with us as well. But we are going to send this lovely trophy out to the one, the only J.R. Stokes for his interview.
Look at that.
Yes, he technically, or not technically, but in the beginning, he only had a couple of votes, and Liz and Martin were kind of neck and neck at the top, and then there was a call to arms or something, but people showed up and showed out and came to vote for him, and so he ended up winning the overall vote pretty heavily, like just shot way up over everybody else. So
yeah, this was a tough one for you and I.
Yeah. We're like, we've been deciding all these hard like movie choices, but I don't know how we're going to decide this one because they're all like our children. We can't choose a favorite.
And we may have completely just omitted ourselves from picking and just relied on you guys, the voters.
Yeah. So the only fully demographic.
Yeah. And that episode, that interview, that was a really special one. That was a really cool one to be a part of and get to kind of direct. Him and I, the conversation, I think we went into it both knowing that it was going to get pretty real, and it does. And it was really cool just talking with him. So JR, congrats, man. This is a cool thing.
Very cool, very sincere. I'm going to take him winning not personally against me because I was not on that episode, and that but the way I'm going to take
I
it is
represented both of us, okay?
Because I wasn't there, he had to do more to fill in my shoes, and he went up above and beyond a normal guest. You were still your normal lovely self, but he went above and beyond what a guest would have to do and co-anchor the episode, I think, is what I'm trying to get at.
Okay.
I'm not throwing shade at you. I know that's your standard defensive nature that I would do that. I probably would do that, but I'm not right now.
See how it is.
You're fine.
Sure.
But
Sure.
I just don't want to feel replaced by him. So congrats, JR. We will send you this in the mail. You can post it or light it on fire, do whatever you want with it. Treasure it forever. Made of high quality plastic that I've 3D printed for you. This was a dream of mine, actually, from the first awards. I was like, I don't know how to turn this picture into a trophy. And it took me 2 years, but I figured out how to do it. And I think it looks pretty good.
It looks pretty fancy.
So, and everybody go check out JR's movies. Edge X, his short films. He's a phenomenal auteur. I'm excited to see what he does next. He's the next Sean Baker.
There you go. Yeah, JR, you're a promising filmmaker, dude.
All right. Best writing overall. We have Kyle from the Movie Wars podcast, who's a very cool guy, very cool podcast. They actually just did an episode on Brazil, which I've been enjoying seeing the clips from, and I want to check out. It reminded me of when we did a Brazil episode and how fun that was.
What a wild movie.
Yeah, it's very wild. So check this out.
What's up, everybody? Kyle from Movie Wars Podcast here. You can find us anywhere by searching Movie Wars Podcast on Instagram, TikTok, Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to podcasts. I love the Movie Bonerz crew. I knew from the minute that I saw their name that we would be friends forever. So thank you for asking me. Here we go. All right, here are your nominees for Best Writing. Heretic, Scott Beck and Brian Woods. These are the folks responsible for A Quiet Place, which a lot of people love. Let's see if Scott and Brian can write a story that takes Hugh Grant from being the guy that falls in love at meet cutes and cozy little bookstores to a guy that can propel psychological horror. Next, A Real Pain, written by Jesse Eisenberg. Fresh off the wings of the worst Lex Luthor we've ever seen, he's like, hey, I know what's going to revive my career. I'm going to write something that stars me and Macaulay Culkin's brother. A Real Pain? The worst pain is knowing that most people just remember me as Mark Zuckerberg. Dune 2. Apparently there is going to be a Dune 3. I'm pretty sure lots of people will be upset when the Dune series is over. But don't worry, in 5 years, Zack Snyder's going to do the next version anyway. The Fall Guy. I was pretty upset when this wasn't a movie about a gentleman that appreciates fall weather. Let's hope that Fall Guy can stand up to the others. Ha! The Wild Robot. Don't worry, during a time where we're all worried about the overreach of AI and tech overlords, we're going to make a propaganda film about a robot on an abandoned island helping animals. That'll ease your mind. And lastly, Saturday Night. They just celebrated the 50th anniversary of SNL. They probably should have just celebrated the 25th anniversary of Saturday Night Live, since that was the last time it was funny. Thank you again for letting me do this, Movie Bonerz crew. Happy voting.
Oh, love that.
Amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is weird watching robot propaganda films. It's like The Creator 2 years ago. Just can't get away from it.
Yeah.
But The Wild Robot did it really good writing. And I felt like very heartfelt and great animation, even though we're not doing animation. But I really enjoy when it's not the Pixar style, whenever it's an animated movie. Like, the Pixar style has become so
staple,
normal. Yeah. It's boring, kind of. So when you get like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or Wild Robot or something like that, it's different and fantastic.
This is actually kind of a tough one for me when I was looking at all of them. Now I haven't watched Wild Robot yet, but there is a lot of love that is very evident in all the writing, and whether it's the story itself or the characters or both combined. You know, I think it's kind of crazy. He joked about Eisenberg being the worst Lex. It is wild knowing that Eisenberg went from being kind of this guy who doesn't do too many big films, and the one that he really tried did not turn out as they had hoped.
It's kind of haunted him, yeah.
Yeah, so for him to write a movie and then suddenly get nominated and have all of this attention put on him, curious to see what he does next coming off of this. But the writing was pretty strong in all of these. It was tough for me to really narrow it down to which one struck me the most.
Yeah, I think Saturday Night stood out heavily in as well. It reminded me of kind of earlier Aaron Sorkin's writing stuff, whereas very quick, very clever, very I want to hear that more and watch this more and take in the meaning of that more kind of thing. I like that kind of stuff. But it seems, at least to us, that there's only one real answer. Dune 2 actually tied with A Real Pain on this one for the number one, and then Saturday Night took third, which I appreciated.
Yeah.
Saturday Night getting some love. But Dune 2, it seemed like, I think part of it is how difficult it is to take the source material of Dune and turn it into something that not only people will find accessible, but also connect to and not get lost and all that stuff. I think that Denis Villeneuve and John Splate did a great job of balancing the story and understanding the total arc of these characters and the motivations and the politics and everything that goes into the story.
Well, I think you nailed it by saying they made it accessible, because there's a lot to Dune the book that translating that into a film by all rights probably shouldn't work at all. but they make it really accessible where the weird things that's going on, or like the mythos of everything, it's still accessible. So even if you don't understand it, you kind of still get it, at least enough to like be willing to stay in the story. Yeah. So the writing on Dune 2 is just, it really is pretty. It's a big feat. It's a really big feat. So
yeah, and I think having pulled it off, which he definitely did, is a huge deal. All right, so
this is
coming
probably
up
my
to the last
favorite
couple
award.
ones. The biggest boner, which I felt had to be towards the end, not only because it is the biggest, but also because the presentation for it is so fantastic.
All right.
So
Culture
Steve from the
Couch.
Culture Couch, which we just did their award show for their 2024 Culture Awards, and it's fun not doing something about movies, that we actually did like the funniest moments of 2024, of things that you should remember. So if you want to check them out, our episode of their awards, our appearance on their episode of the awards, you know what I'm saying?
Words.
Definitely do that. Yeah. So yeah, here this guys.
Hello, I'm Steve.
I'm Beach.
And I'm Aaron.
First of all, thank you very much for the Movie Boners, for asking us to come and host an award. They did a brilliant job on ours.
They really did. Very good.
We're going to be nowhere near as funny.
No, sadly not. But at least you're not in your pajamas this time, so they'll appreciate that. Hopefully.
From last year.
Yeah.
But we have had the prestigious honour. I don't even know what that word was. Of presenting the biggest boner.
Yeah, very confusing for us Brits, as a boner is something that we get if we like something.
Yeah.
Mainly.
Whereas these are all negative, because we are British.
Yeah,
Proud.
sorry, not just English.
You can tell from my teeth.
Yeah, I don't, I'm really conscious about mine. Anyway.
Let's move on from the teeth. Well, I'll tell you what, while I read through these, tell me if you get a boner or not, and then we'll know that that's won it, surely. So thanks, Jake and Dustin. Here are your nominees for biggest boner.
Yeah.
So tell me, does Making Joker 2 a musical, or even at all, give you a slight semi-lob on?
If anything, I've gone inside myself.
Oh, wow, an innie. Yeah, it's not for me.
Not for me either.
But I've not seen it.
My worst film of last
but I've
year.
heard it's terrible. So
Awful. The next nominee is Sony's Spider-Man less Spider-Verse. So your Craven, your Venom 2, and Madame Web.
Well, Venom 3.
Venom 3, did I say 2? There's been 3 of them.
Were they all out this year?
Venom 3, Madame Web, Craven the Hunter.
Sorry, boys.
I saw 2 out of 3.
I'm out again. And I know I've heard bad things, but yeah.
Venom 3 was alright. It was alright. Remaking Mean Girls is the next nominee. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, they did not advertise it was a musical at all.
Like every other film this year.
Yeah.
Wicked.
No, doesn't sound great though.
No. Comic book movies taking a major dip in 2024. Although we did have Deadpool and Wolverine. We all enjoyed that.
That was the only Marvel film that came out last year, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Deadpool and Wolverine was literally the only film I think I enjoyed last year.
But you had the 3 Spider-Man less Spider films.
Poor guy.
And did we get any DC? Don't know. Don't care. Next one. Lionsgate, the studio. 13 flops of 2024. So
13?
They had 13. I've wrote some examples here.
Yeah.
I've only watched one of them, so have you, because we went together. Borderlands, Crow, Never Let Go, which we saw,
Yeah.
and Megalopolis, blah, 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 blah.
Whoa.
And they had loads more, and basically they had a shit year.
Are they in trouble? Because that many surely puts you into. Oh, then again,
just
how much
write it off his tax loss.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is true. Yeah,
Okay.
that's just a lot of films. Even just them 4 alone. I've got obviously they've done 13, but them 4 alone are pretty epically bad.
I've heard Borderlands is doing pretty good on Prime in the States or something, though.
Yeah, if it's on there, you're going to put it on because you've got.
Yeah,
you've got.
that's one of them, innit?
Yeah.
The next nominee, making Mufasa an adopted child in the unnecessary prequel Mufasa. So, I mean, that's
Crazy
a spoiler.
woke crap.
Because he's adopted, is it woke?
Yeah. No one was adopted back in the 90s. Everyone has raised themselves. Look at Mowgli. Different cartoon. He raised himself. He got raised by wolves. Shit.
Adopted by wolves.
Tracy Beaker was adopted.
Yeah.
A bit different.
I bet they don't know who Tracy Beaker is over the years.
This is awesome.
Move on.
But yeah, Mufasa, I didn't even see it. Stacey took Logan. I refused to see it because the Lion King live action remake was shit.
I've not seen anything live action. I did see The Jungle Book only because of Crystal Walken. And I'll do anything for that man.
Fair enough. This one, you'll have an opinion on because you definitely seen it. making Lucius the son of Maximus in the unnecessary sequel, Gladiator 2.
Gentlemen. Perfect. That is the biggest boner of the year. It was just so pointless. It was so unnecessary. All it needed. Just lovely.
Just pick up some sand and you know it's your son.
It also took away his love for his wife that he was looking
Yeah.
for the barley field for. He was clearly shuffling away back in Rome. Dirty dog, old Maximus. Maximo, oh. No, I'll leave it.
And the last nominee is Megalopolis AI fake critic quote. So I didn't actually know much about that, but I know that film was weird as fuck, but it did have Aubrey Plaza in it, riding Sheila Bluff's face.
Nice.
So some actors. Can't remember. But at least it's got that scene. So quick run through your nominees: making Joker 2 a musical or at all, Sony Spider-Man less Spider-Verse, remaking Mean Girls, comic book movies taking a major dip in 2024, Lionsgate, 13 flops of 2024, making Mufasa an adopted child, making Lucius the son of Maximus, Megalopolis, AI fake critic quotes. So we're saying our biggest boner is
mine personally,
Lucius being the son
I just want to say
of Maximus. Well, thank you very much for having us on, Jake and Dustin, the Movie Boners.
Thank you, guys. Sorry we've waffled on.
That's what we do here. And if you like it, come follow us. Come and give us a watch. And we hope to collab in the future again. Cheers, boys.
Cheers. That was awesome. The best part. Move on.
Yes, I did want to just point out, some people were like, surely there weren't 13 flops.
13 flops. This is real.
According to movieweb.com, at least, so many movies: Miller's Girl, Ordinary Angels, Imaginary, Arthur the King, Mystery of Ungentlemanly Warfare, which is actually good, but did lose a lot of money, Unsung Hero, Strangers Chapter 1, which weirdly made a lot of money, but also has probably the worst rating of all of the year, Borderlands, The Crow, Megalopolis, The Killer's Game, Never Let Go, and 1992, which I never even heard of.
Yeah, 13 flops.
Crazy.
Ministry deserves better than what it got.
Yeah, for sure.
Perhaps we should explain what we mean by biggest boner.
Oh, yeah.
Just
a boner is a mistake. Not that we in America think all boners are mistakes, but that was actually the original meaning of the word for a long time and then was translated to erection later on. But so a boner traditionally just means a goof up, a mistake, a bad thing.
Yeah.
And these are all very
And
big
these are
mistakes,
all
I think.
really bad. Really bad.
Yeah. And hearing them all listed at like one after the other, I was like, man, that sounds like a really shit year
This is
overall.
miserable.
Yeah. And I definitely agree with them that the Lucius son of Maximus thing is one of the biggest ones. Being way up there, trying to alter or ruin the original. That I hate when that happens. And I actually had the Megalopolis fake AI quotes as my number one.
You did.
And then we convened and decided to go against that. But for me, it's because it's so easily disproven because they actually used real publications and real film reviewers' names in saying like, The Godfather wasn't very good, or Apocalypse Now had these weird contrived problems. And then someone's like actually looked them up. We're like, no, we never said that. And so and they're like, oh, sorry, we just told AI to make these cars with words on them. And they didn't even think to check what that even meant. It's just the craziest little avoidable mistake.
Yeah, the only reason that I don't even think I ranked it was because it just seemed like that movie was set to fail from the get-go.
Yeah.
Whether people knew about the fake AI quotes or not, it just seemed like everything about it had no interest from like the common viewer. Can't remember how I ranked all this stuff, but hearing it all and now seeing it all on the screen, I'm like, this is a tough one because there is nothing good. There's nothing redeemable.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, they do make a point that Deadpool and Wolverine was a huge hit, and like both critically, box office, it was like the saving factor for comic book movies in 2024.
Yeah. Kind of like just an island you're clinging to.
But it's just an island. Yeah. Now that could all swing back into a huge uptick this upcoming summer.
for sure.
Or it could
2025
really
should be
tank,
big.
and that would be interesting. That would also really suck. But this is tough. I already know how I side, but
I know how you side too. Seems clear to us, and actually the fans voted Lionsgate and Joker 2 both tied as the top spot, so they agree.
Yeah.
Joker 2 just was the worst.
Yeah. I just cannot understand Todd Phillips' motivation behind this movie. I just don't get it. There's not a single thing about this movie that is like, oh, that's kind of redeemable. Now, I have talked to a couple people, shockingly, who told me they actually enjoyed it and they thought the music was good. And I was like, you're crazy. Like, I like you as a person. You're crazy.
Mm-hmm.
This movie is just... There's nothing good about this movie. There's nothing...
No.
My gosh. I get mad about this movie.
All right, we'll move on.
Yeah, like, its existence is horrible.
Yeah, it really is. So, Best Director of the Year. And to present this award, we have a director in his own right, Mr. Paul Rothman from Elevator Pictures.
All right.
You will recognize him because we watched his short film, Salamander, which was really fun. And he's working on his first feature film right now. So let's check in with him and see how that's going.
Oh, shit. What's up, guys? How'd you get in here? How you doing, Movie Boners fam? My name's Paul Rothman. I am smack dab in the middle of editing our first feature film with Elevator Pictures. It's called Small Business. Currently, I am living a nightmare. Editing a movie is terrible. I don't wish it on my worst enemy. And I think I might just jump out this window over here after I'm done recording. So, what brings us here tonight? What brings all of you, me, together? It's boners. Movie boners. What is a movie boner? I don't quite know. Like, I thought a movie boner was like when I watch something and I'm like, that makes me horny. Not like horny, but like horny. Like you watch like a good film like Last of the Mohicans. Horny, right? That's a movie boner. No Country for Old Men, movie boner. Dark Knight, movie boner. Now sometimes there will be like real boners slipped into the movies that are movie boners, but those aren't the same things. So we've got some names here. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. I can't read, and I can barely speak. So I'm going to read these names off of this sheet I have here, and we're going to play a game where you try to figure out what I'm talking about. And the nominees are Denis Villeneuve.
Something when you say his name.
Part 2. Coralie Fergiat. The Substance. Guy Ritchie. Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. Damananan. No. Terrifier 2. Dev Patel. Monkey Man. And Roger Ebert for Nosferatu. Pretty crazy. He kind of came back from the dead to direct that one. So, amazing year for cinema. Amazing year for the world. And if you've been listening to Movie Boners this whole time, guess what? It's been an amazing year for you.
That's sweet.
I love that. Inspiring song.
Every time he says Terrifier 2 instead of Terrifier 3, I die laughing. I don't know why. It's the way he says it. I don't know why there's a picture of Harvey Weinstein in a walker.
I don't either, but it's funny.
It makes me laugh. And then, so
my
not
gosh.
Roger Ebert, Robert Eggers for Nosferatu.
Right.
There's one thing I think we should probably get out of the way now and not later.
Okay.
We shouldn't have nominated Coralie, whatever her name is, for The Substance.
I feel like feel like that was a nomination that we did.
It was the fans wrote in a lot.
Fans wrote that one a lot.
They're like, should be nominated for Best Director, because she was nominated for Best Director in a lot of categories.
So
that makes sense.
We're just gonna spoil this right now for you guys. No. That's
And I don't think. No. I think that you need more originality to be the Best Director of the year, and I think that you can't do that when your movie is largely, predominantly, I would say,
already made.
Cribbed from Kubrick's The Shining, cribbed from
Requiem for a Dream.
Requiem for a Dream is definitely Aronofsky's almost entirely Requiem for a Dream, visually and editing and all of the things, cadence, all that stuff. And Psycho, there's so many shots from Psycho from Hitchcock that are the exact same as well. So it's one thing to use homages and paint pictures and make references to things as a way to get added value and say, I'm going to have your mind flooded with associations with this one little thing that instead of having to explain it all to you because you already know, I just say it's like that thing and you say, okay, I get it. But just to do that the whole time all the way through and to be not very unique in not a lot of ways, I think takes it off the list for me.
Yeah, so just imagine a line just crossing that out. Just
darn, I should have put one of those.
That would have been.
I can add it in post. Guy Ritchie,
yes,
like you said, and actually like James said, Mystery of Ungentlemanly Warfare, hidden gem of the year. And I think I definitely agree. I think we both like Guy Ritchie and we like The Covenant. Oh, I liked The Covenant last year, but not a lot of people saw it. And I think Mystery of Ungentlemanly Warfare was much more fun and accessible and just a movie that you'll go back to quite often.
Yeah, I recently rewatched it, and because I figured like maybe it wasn't as enjoyable as I remember it being, and that was wrong. It was so much fun. It is so much fun. It deserves so much more love than what it got. For being a war film, my biggest takeaway from that movie is it still makes its point, and it is possibly one of the most accessible war films I think I've ever seen, where it's just it's very unique how he pulled this movie off, because it's hyper violent and there are definitely moments and the stakes are so high and daunting that like you shouldn't be laughing while you're watching it. But the people that the movie focuses on, their characters are so unhinged that you laugh at how they approach and how they're just okay with the situation that they're going into.
Yeah.
And it's a really unique, weird piece of history that
it's fascinating.
It's fascinating how it all came together. His approach to just making sure it's so accessible and enjoyable as a movie, high respect for that. Yeah.
I think Denis Villeneuve seems obvious that he should be on here for Dune Part 2. It's apparently not obvious to some people because it wasn't nominated for the Academy Awards for Best Director. I don't know how you have a Best Director. I don't know how you have a movie in the Best Picture category without being in Best Director, for one thing. Seems kind of important.
I feel like it happens a lot, though.
It does, and I think it's weird every time. We kind of talked about Dev Patel's great directingness, and it is, I think, not only maybe surprising that a first-time director is in the Best Director category, but I do think just because of how great the product is, that's what really matters in the end. How great the movie itself is that he ended up putting together, but also having that knowledge of the behind-the-scenes struggles and the effort and the not giving upness. I think that's huge and worth nominating 100%. For a Best Director of the Year.
And right in that tail, Damien Leone for Terrifier 3. This is a big one for me. I know some people might say like, oh, Terrifier 3 wasn't like a quote-unquote good movie. You're wrong. It's a fantastic movie. The story's really intense. Actually, if you don't get what this franchise is kind of actually turning out to be about, you're not watching the franchise. But he's on this list because talk about dedication. Talk about sticking to your guns to make the product, to create your product as you see, as your vision is. He had so many opportunities to sell out, and big production companies wanted to produce Terrifier 3. They offered him a ton of money to make it because of the success of Terrifier 2. But because they were telling him certain things he wouldn't be allowed to do with his characters, with his story, highest respect for his passion, his dedication to this, to the story in particular, and these characters. He's on this list because that, to me, that was like, it's a true, pretty staunch and admirable thing that he stuck to his guns so heavily. And then he was able to make the point and really like mic drop, if you will, to the production companies that he was successful in spite of what they told him. So
right. Yeah, it continues to be a I don't need you, you need me kind of a direction.
And he shook Hollywood up. I think everyone in the business probably had a little pucker moment of like, oh shoot, this guy just released this super low budget indie film, unrated, that took the top spot in the box office opening weekend, that became this phenomenon. It is, I think he
So
proved
exciting.
we need more films, lower budget films like that, where it's not relied on.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Robert Eggers, I think he just makes things that are so perfectly flawless and perfectly him that it comes across, and he's one of the best to do it, and he's still doing it. And it's awesome.
And it's only his fourth feature length, which is telling because the dude has an incredible batting average, it turns out. So
right. Yeah, he's in the like echelon of people that haven't missed yet.
Yeah.
And it's a crazy small list to be on.
Yeah. So,
and you're getting into the range where it's undeniable. Like when you make 2 great movies or 3 great movies, you're like, okay, like we'll hold our breath for it. But once you get in the 4, 5, 6 range, then it's like, no, you're just one of the
you're
greats.
just a great.
Yeah.
But there's
Speaking of
only
one of the greats,
one.
though. There is one great.
Are you shocked? No.
No. You probably are shocked that we already crossed Coralie Fergiat off the list because she had the second highest vote of the fans.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, Denis Villeneuve was so incredible. Dune Part 2 is so incredible. And I think part of it for me is also knowing how crazy the source material is and going back to the whole writing thing of how do you take those things and put them on screen. Directing them as well is a huge, crazy undertaking. Part of it is we saw how not to do it with David Lynch's version of Dune and how difficult it is to try to communicate some ideas in the weirdest way possible. To see those same ideas communicated in a very effective way, in a very compelling and visually beautiful and meaningful way, it's just like, I don't know, the contrast of the right and wrong way is so stark to me.
Yeah, you can't deny his brilliance as a director. The dude, we were just talking about great batting averages. You're looking at one of the greats. Like,
right.
He's just, he can't.
Yeah.
And plus, we had to rectify that great crime. So.
Right. Unbelievable that the Academy would snub him like that.
Yep.
And I think everybody would agree. I think even Art the Clown would probably agree that even though Terrifier lost, it's probably okay, right?
It's okay. You've had that one in the bank for a while.
Yeah, we're holding on to it. All right, 2 categories left: biggest thing and best movie. So biggest thing of the year comes at the very end because it's the biggest thing. The biggest thing you can think of. And it's presented by the hilarious and Scottish Meandering Movie Podcast. These guys are amazing, and I love every reel that they put on Instagram. I will die laughing every time, and I think you will like this a lot.
It's time for the moment you've been waiting for.
It's also very epic.
The
It's so weird seeing that in gold.
Hi there, I'm one half of the Meandering Movie podcast. My other host is No Idea, and we're presenting the category for biggest thing at the Movie Bonerz Awards. Where the f*** have you been? Anyway, we're going to present the category for biggest thing. First up in this category, we have the amount of Madam Web memes. Why have you got a bag? What are you doing? Okay. Next up in this category, we have the gap between Red One's budget and quality. Have you got a bag thing for this? Oh, he does have a bag thing for this. What a surprise. I don't even know, where did you get that? Next up, we have Nick Cage's long leg scream. How did you get that in a bag?
Found it.
Next up in the category, we have Joker 2's waste of time / energy. Next, we have Reasons to be Upset, Amelia Perez. Oh. Oh, there's more.
There's more.
Oh, they just keep coming. Oh, that was sad. Next up, we have Eagle / Carelessness in the Substance. Can't wait to see what comes out of the bag for this. Oh my lord. It's so thick.
I love that. That's just the way it is.
Oh, the bag's gone. What a shame. And last up in this category.
Oh, there's one more. Throw it in that bag.
Last up in this category, we have Blue Balls from No Twisters Kiss.
It is in the bag. Give me a second.
I love how you have a voice all of a sudden. Wait to see what's in the bag. Was it the Tic Tac you just dropped? So yeah, that has been the category of biggest thing. We're excited to see who wins at Movie Bonerz Awards. Once again, we have been the Meandering Movie Podcast. Thank you for checking us out, and good luck to everyone in the categories. We're back because we forgot to give you all of the nominations in the category. We missed Lionsgate's budget deficit, just like Lionsgate misses all of that money.
Say when to stop.
Is that it?
Oh my god. It's huge.
That's us finished now!
So that was very special.
That was fantastic.
Yeah, the most incredible thing ever.
Wow.
It's impossible to follow these things once they blow you away. We already talked about Lionsgate's budget deficit. Mm-hmm. Very big, very huge. Nick Cage long leg scream. Very, not as big, but still remarkably memorable.
It's pretty drawn out and very loud. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Madam Web Memes is probably one of my favorites of the year. That it just instantly and eternally, I think, will be remembered as the Madam Web year for that reason.
I did not hate Red One, so the quality and budget margin, not quite as big of a deal for me. But one thing I really could not stand in that movie was the horrible CGI. So
okay. It's not necessarily that it's a bad movie.
Right.
I have a visual representation of this. It's not that it's a bad movie. It's just that it's so expensive.
It was so expensive.
It's $250 million to make this movie that's okay.
Yeah.
It's a mid movie. And this is a visual comparison of all of the A24 movies that came out that total budgets were about $250 million. How many movies you could make.
Which is insane.
For that movie.
Right. I agree with that aspect. And the movie really was, it was like okay, you made a silly Christmas movie that I'll probably watch regularly, but will never consider a classic. And it's kind of crazy. I'm kind of shocked you don't have this on here. Red One was kind of not supposed to be theatrically released either. It was supposed to be like a Prime film that they decided to release theatrically.
Such an expensive Prime film.
Big, expensive movie.
Yeah.
Joker, we don't care about anymore.
Big waste of time, though.
Yeah. The ego and carelessness of the substance, that one cracks me up.
It's the one thing that I took away from it. It's just the carelessness for yourself in her two roles of just screwing herself over constantly.
Mhm.
And then, the ego behind it all as well.
Yeah. And the reasons to hate Emilia Perez. I think this one makes me laugh, dude, because I feel like no one even knew this thing existed, period.
Yeah.
Until it got 13 nominations. And then people are like, wait, what?
I heard medium buzz at the various awards as they were starting to kick off or festivals or whatever. And they were like, oh, it could be a sleeper, it could be a darling, or it could be all these things. And then it came out with 13 awards. You hadn't seen anything about it. Hadn't seen trailer, hadn't seen anything, don't know anything about it. And then you see 13 Oscar nominations. And then immediately somebody posts that clip. They're like, this movie with this song, the Penis and Vagina song that we all heard Brian do perfectly. Everybody's like, that movie gets 13 nominations. And everybody's like, no. No. And then, okay, so before we move on, Blue Balls from No Twister's Kiss. I don't know how many people feel this way, but I've felt this way, that it was such a perfect, nostalgic 90s early movie. To not end it on the kiss did kind of take me out of it. I was like, it would have been perfect.
Really?
I like the cheese factor. Maybe it's cheesy, maybe it's cliche, but I wanted that cheesiness.
See, what's weird for me, this is strange. This is a weird moment for us, Jake, because normally I would be the one saying what you just said, and you would be the one saying what I'm about to say, but now we've reversed roles. What is happening? I actually think that the fact that there was no kiss was such a strong and great decision to do, because the nostalgia factor had already been established. They already did everything they needed to do to make that movie perfect as it is. I kind of think had they ended it with a kiss, it would have actually taken me out of it a little bit, because I really respected that they made this movie where there's that flirty potential. Will they, won't they?
They play it well.
They play it great. And the fact that they don't lean heavily on one side or the other, I thought was this is fantastic. This is great. All right. Yeah, so that's weird, because normally we'd be saying opposite things. What is happening?
I don't know, it's an alternate universe.
But we already saw that slide. Yeah.
I know, I had to go
This
past
is just... So I saw a couple things from the Oscars.
Yeah.
So I didn't watch the whole thing because I just don't care. But I was curious to see Conan O'Brien host. So I wanted to see his opening monologue, which I will say the monologue was all right.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad. But I did see a clip from this. I can't remember if it was when someone was winning it or when they were presenting it as the Best Picture nominee.
Yeah.
It was a clip of a song. I don't know if it was the Penis Vagina song.
It could be the one that won Best Song.
Maybe.
El Mal one that, it's in a dark room like this, and what's her face that won Best Supporting Actor is singing most of it, I think.
I know nothing about this movie.
Yeah.
Except that the song that I heard, the blip that I saw, annoyed me instantly. And I can't imagine anything good coming from something that is just an instant ooh, this is right out the gate bad.
Yeah.
Yes.
I occasionally seen a new one pop up, and every time I see one, I'm like, it's worse than you could even imagine.
I think
and the reason that it wins biggest thing, so the reason Emilia Perez wins the biggest thing of the year is because it united everyone. that normally we have these people versus these people, and critics versus the audience, and cinephiles versus average moviegoers, and Republicans versus Democrats, and all of these people at odds with each other. But Emilia Perez, everyone agrees on, and everyone agrees that it sucks. If you like the trans ideology or you are against it, you all agree this is not the movie for it. If you want to support foreign films or you don't care about foreign films, you agree on this movie because the Mexican representation doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It's not Mexican. It doesn't have Mexican language and dialect or anything. They didn't try anything to do well in this movie. The songs are, if you don't like musicals or you do like musicals, you hate this movie because the songs are awful.
Yet one of them won an Oscar.
One of them won Best Original Song. They nominated 2 different songs from this movie in that category, and one of them won, and it's an awful song.
That's okay. Oh man, because I think the lady
But it wasn't the penis vagina.
I think the lady that won, she like sang at the mic.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
She was a terrible singer, which made sense.
Yes.
Why it sucked.
Okay. I'm never going to watch this. Sometimes, like, we'll get a kick out of hate watching something. I can't imagine you and I actually deciding, let's just see how bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the weirdest thing is that the conversation has never been about what the movie's about, which I think what the movie's about is also a big problem, is that there's this violent drug cartel kingpin guy who transitions to a woman, and apparently that absolves him of all of his terrible atrocities that he's done, that he's gone through some growth or learning or acceptance, or I don't know. That's kind of what I read. I haven't seen the movie and I don't care to, but that's what I have gleaned from the comments on the internet.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, fuck you, Emilia Perez. And now we're on to the last award, finally, trying to get this in under 4 hours. Best Movie of the Year for 2024. And presented by the illustrious and phenomenal Martin, who jumped at the opportunity to do it again. He likes going for the big one, and there's a reason why. He does a great job with it.
Hello guys and fans of the Movie Bonerz podcast. Once again, I am honoured to present the Best Film category. As you may know, my podcast is a Versus podcast, the Film versus Film podcast. And of course, last year I compared the nominees to Jake and Dustin's favourite film of all time, Avatar. That film is, of course, directed by the godlike human that is James Cameron, otherwise known as the sequel king. I know what you're thinking. I should compare this year's nominees to the greatest film of all time, Avatar: The Way of Water. But I'm not going to do that. I was thinking maybe the masterpiece that is Terminator 2 Judgment Day, or perhaps the absolute classic that is Aliens. Nope, who am I kidding? I'm doing The Way of Water. Right, first up with our nominees, we have Dune Part 2, an incredible sci-fi epic with giant sandworms, but do they have their own dialogue? Nope. The Pandorian whale does. The Way of Water clearly wins that one. Right, next up we have The Wild Robot, an incredible animated film where a robot adapts to its environment. Does it compare, though, to Sigourney Weaver's characters learning to control glow-in-the-dark fishes for her own pleasure? No, it fucking doesn't.
Is that part of that movie?
I don't remember, but he's probably accurate.
I never saw it.
Kneecap is up next, a fantastic Irish drama with very strong accents. Does it compare, though, to the Aussie tones of The Way of Water's new character, Scorbsy, who says in the film, well, if you can't get out of it, get into it? Avatar: The Way of Water clearly wins
love the
for that
voices.
line alone. Next up, we have The Fall Guy, an amazing film with equally amazing practical stunts where no one was harmed. Does it compare, though, to an Aussie losing his arm while it's flying through the air in the sunlight? No, it doesn't. Avatar: The Way of Water clearly wins again. This is looking pathetic, people. Next up, we have The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, a great action film. Does it compare to the totally original James Cameron action sequence set in a sinking ship? Absolutely not. The Way of Water wins again. This is looking awful. Next up, we have Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, another fantastic sci-fi epic hitting a whopping 2.5 hours. Try sticking an extra 45 minutes on there in a film that encourages toilet breaks, as it's about The Way of Water. Avatar, The Way of Water wins again. Incredible stuff. Next up, we have Longlegs, an incredibly creepy horror film where Nick Cage screeches, "Mommy!" Does it compare to Jake Sully's son saying, bro, 678 times? No, it doesn't. Avatar, The Way of Water wins again. Wow, this is looking awful. Right, lastly, we have Inside Out 2, a fantastic sequel with added teenage emotions.
Oh, my gosh.
Does it compare to the added teenage Na'vi emotional pain of falling off sea creatures multiple times, or having your tail being pulled, or having to learn to swim for literally hours? Total pain. Avatar: The Way of Water wins again. That's it, people. That's all the nominees. Thank you again for letting me do this. I wonder which of Jake and Dustin's favorite films I'll cover next. Bye-bye.
Gosh.
I'm feeling cold. Are you feeling cold? Ash, put the fire on. I'm freezing.
You know,
amazing.
You know, it's funny to think, Jake.
Mm-hmm.
There's a third Avatar movie coming out, which means he's getting more, like, he gets to throw more wood on that fire.
Yeah, absolutely.
My gosh.
Which is appropriate, wood on that fire. He had to explain to me that the joke at the end of Ash put on the fire thing, that the next movie is called Ash and Fire.
Yep.
Like, I didn't even care enough about the movie to know that.
Gosh.
Hilarious. Yeah, I love that this award show is now becoming, it has its own lore, and James, with the stunt stuff, referenced the Batman stuff, and now you have to go back and watch the first award show, even though you don't care about those movies anymore. It's in the past. But you need to keep up with the lore now. I love that.
Yeah. The Avatar jokes are always going to be amazing. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I think it broke you there when your head hit the microphone.
It did. I was like, because I keep forgetting that Way of Water exists.
Yeah.
And I found myself like, oh, he's got to reference Avatar because that's like a running gag for us. And he doubled down on it with Way of Water. And when you went, does that happen? I was like, I don't remember.
Probably.
But I think he watched it before recording that so that he had the ammo, which means everything he said happens.
Oh, yeah.
God, Avatar is such a flaming pile of crap. All right.
You know, it's not a flaming pile of crap. All the best movies of the year.
It's true. It's true.
Inside Out 2 made the biggest box office of the year overall.
Why do you got to keep reminding me of this?
Well, because it was a big deal. No reason in particular. The Wild Robot sleeper hit that nobody knew was coming out, but everybody loved when it did. Kneecap, which mostly I put on there because mostly I liked it. You haven't seen it?
I haven't seen it.
The Fall Guy, which we all loved and probably is our most enjoyable movie of the year overall, that we'll rewatch probably the most of the bunch. Yeah. Doom Part 2, which obviously can't have a nomination on the list, kind of define the year. Mystery on Gentleman Warfare, I think we talked about. It's very, very good, very, very enjoyable, very, very fun, also historic, meaningful, all the things you want. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes surpassed our expectations and gave us a new excitement for kind of what the next generation of apes movies brings. And Longlegs was one of my highest anticipated movies of the year. I was so excited to not be let down and have it to be weird and unique, and I'm so excited to see kind of where Osgood Perkins goes from here after The Monkey, what he does next after that. He should do some cool stuff, I think.
Yeah, this is a really strong list.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure we'll get into it here in a bit. It's a strong list. It's a very strong list.
It's a strong list, yes. Yeah, you can't argue it's a good list, but I think you also can't argue it belongs to Dune.
It's gonna go
2024 will be remembered forever as the year that Dune 2 came out.
Yeah.
And it's just the overall biggest movie, best movie, best made movie. It also just was, before Emilia Perez united the world, this movie I felt like united the world, that there were people that weren't fans of sci-fi movies, weren't fans of fantasy epics, weren't fans of the original Dune or the books or anything like that. But when it came out, everyone was saying, this movie is amazing and you have to see it. And I felt bad. I feel like we were like, it's pretty good. It wasn't as good as the original one when it first came out. I still go back and forth on that, but I temper it because I think the experience was ruined. And I think we ruined it for ourselves by watching David Lynch's Dune first. That we watched David Lynch's Dune. We did that hilarious episode.
That we received the most backlash for.
And we didn't even know that it included like the whole book in that movie. And we didn't even know that we were seeing things that hadn't happened in Denis Villeneuve's version yet. And so then when you go to see it in the theater, you're like, oh yeah, it's like that thing in that terrible movie I just saw. And I think it just took away some of the magic. At least for me, it did. And it's taken a while to like kind of wash away that grime, I think.
That makes sense. I can confidently tell you that wasn't my experience. I honestly don't have anything against Doom Part 2. It's incredible. It's so good.
Mm-hmm.
It really is just mind-blowing. What 2024 came down to me, and we differed on which one should have won.
Yeah. You wanted the Fall Guy
I wanted the Fall Guy to win. Even though Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare was my personal favorite movie of the year, the Fall Guy, to me, was the full movie as a whole experience.
Yeah.
I still stand by this. I think it's the one movie from 2024 that truly stood firmly on why we go to the theater, why we watch movies, what we're looking for when we go. It had everything: the comedy, the drama, the love story, the action, all the spectacle. It literally did everything a movie should do.
Right.
My thing with Dune 2 was I've kind of noticed with myself a little bit, and just kind of, part of what we do is gauge how general audiences are reacting to movies. And the big, massive epics have their huge moments, but it kind of feels in the long run, they get forgotten, or people don't want to revisit them because it's going to require a lot of time, with the exception of a handful. Trust me, people, you don't gotta. I know.
Like Lord of the Rings. But yeah, it does take a lot of investment to go through that whole journey again.
To go through it. But Dune 2
it doesn't take a lot of investment to throw on the Fall Guy and have a great time every night of the week.
But Dune 2 is amazing. It really is. And you said it earlier to me, which was like, yep, it worked better seeing it on the big screen than watching it at home. It's still great watching it at home, but I think when you think of it like that, it kind of takes away a little bit. At least for me, it takes away a little bit. I'm so thankful that I watched it opening day, on the big screen. That was a joy. My biggest disappointment was not being able to snag one of those popcorn buckets. But no, Dune 2 is incredible. So my differing on it has nothing against Dune 2. I just still feel The Fall Guy was the full, true movie package. So
yeah, I'm sure The Fall Guy will be the one I rewatch the most long term, and definitely probably my most enjoyed movie of the year. But I think on every aspect, technically, performances, visuals, visual effects, cinematography, all the aspects. Dune 2.
Yeah, Dune 2
has to
hits
be
the
number one.
the master class of what I think
storytelling, all of it.
So
yeah. And fans agreed overwhelmingly. It was
Right.
the highest percentage of all of the votes. Although Fall Guy was second, so that's good.
See.
All right. Well,
wow.
We made it in under 4 hours, just barely.
I think last
the stream
year's
went
was
down
longer.
in the middle.
Yeah, that sucks.
Last year was 3 hours, 13 minutes.
Oh.
So, yeah, we elaborated maybe a little bit more. I think we had to defend our choices a little more because
True.
we did make it so open and transparent and had so many votes. And we love you and thank you for voting for all of the awards. And thank you to all of our wonderful presenters for joining us because they kind of made the whole experience for us. I couldn't have done it without them. And definitely go find and follow not just their like social medias, but the projects they're working on. They're all working on very cool things.
Go listen to them, follow them. There's a lot of really neat things coming down the pipeline from all of these guys.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of them announcing very big new changes this year, which is very exciting. It's a big year for everybody. 2025 is going to be exciting. So next episode is the 2025 movie draft. So we're talking about all the movies that come out this next year, and which ones we're looking forward to. And it's a crazy year. We don't know what 2025 is going to bring. It's already on its head because John Cena turned heel. Did you see that? For the first time since 2003, he's the most babyface ever. And he's a bad guy now.
I can't believe we just went 4 hours without you bringing up wrestling.
Well, here we are.
Here we are.
Look into the future where John Cena's a bad guy.
That still of him glaring or whatever, staring into the camera, cracks me up because I'm like, what happened to your face, dude? It's like...
It's being controlled by The Rock.
Gosh. Oh, gosh.
I bet he's having so much fun with it. I hope he retires after this.
I would imagine
and
so.
Because I think he's wanted to go heel forever, but he just couldn't for his character. His brand is too strong. And he's doing like the Make-A-Wish stuff. Now he's like, fuck them kids, I'm a bad guy. Anyway. Let's go to bed before we make this wrestling podcast.
Well, thank you again, everyone. Congrats to the winners, unless you won one of our...
Shitty awards?
Yeah.
There's only, I think, 2 of those, but yeah,
to which
if you did.
You deserved it because you suck.
Yeah, exactly.
But to everyone else, congrats. What a fun thing. We look forward to start compiling, prepping for next year's awards. Obviously, the goal is keep growing. And congrats.
Try to prepare earlier than a couple months before because I'm excited for this to be over so I can finally watch 2025 movies. I've been
no joke
still cramming up to the wire.
I'm like trying
movies.
to prep for upcoming episodes. I'm trying to figure out what new movies I'm gonna be able to watch. But before we worry about that, extra special congratulations to JR, because how cool is that, bud?
The first ever trophy was going to go into your hands and home and heart.
Yep. So congrats, man. We're happy for you, and way to pull those votes in. That's crazy.
It's all political. It's all who you know.
Yep.
Speaking of how much you spend, I would like to go to bed, but I do want to ask you this question. Isn't it weird that Amelia Perez, we're not talking about that anymore. Anora cost $6 million to make, but they spent 3 times that on its Oscar
I saw
campaign.
that. Yeah, the Oscar campaign.
$18 million to get it to win an award.
Which is insane to do for a movie that's... I haven't watched it, but apparently it's like glorifying prostitution or something.
Yeah.
So I probably won't ever watch it because... Nope.
Yeah, I don't much care, but it's such a weird thing to be like, this is the best movie of the year. We promise, please. We promise, please. Like, it either is or it isn't, and everybody agrees or it isn't. And if it's Dune 2, no one's going to say, no, it's not.
Right.
Like, it is.
But with Anora, it feels like everyone collectively went, okay. All right.
It happens so much.
So they bought that award. Cool. Because that's what that tells me.
Right. That's what it feels like for sure.
But well, thank you again, everyone. Go watch some movies, and let's start 2020.
I'm excited. I think that's it. All right. See you guys next time.
Bye.